could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
how you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead.
This severe weather is intensifying.
By knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time. Every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
we could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time. Every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions.
Yes. Hey Todd, they said that the battery's at 19%. Do you have a spare?
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News
We began with breaking news this
is
morning.
where you know what's happening now,
11 Alive is live on the scene.
where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead, and where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you
driving.
get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Live News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta,
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County where a neighborhood is now...
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather,
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
and the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m., where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed.
ATL also 11 Alive Plus. This is what we're learning just coming into the newsroom. 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies were being told by the Cobb County Sheriff's Office 2 deputies have been killed in the line of duty. I believe that we have some pictures of the crime scene where it's taking place, where there's extreme heavy activity right now.
We understand they were in the process of serving warrants, and we are going to get live to our reporter, Cody Alcorn, who is out there on the scene. Cody, what can you tell us about what you're learning so far about this?
Ron, Jennifer, heartbreaking news here developing in Cobb County, where you just mentioned the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming 2 deputies have died tonight in the line of duty. We do know they were serving a warrant at a home on Hampton Glen in that subdivision here off of John Ward Road when something went south and this suspect opened fire. Again, we do know 2 deputies have been killed. A witness said one of those deputies was being worked on in front of her home. He was rushed to a nearby trauma center where now it's confirmed he has died. I'm going to step out of this shot right now because the scene is down here, John Ward Road. You can see blue lights as far as we can see around this bend. We can tell you that John Ward Road Southwest is closed at Habersham Drive. That's the McNeil Farms area. And the subdivision we're at, McNeil Farms, I talked to a woman. She says, look, we know law enforcement here. We have law enforcement on our street. And she told me right away that they had one down. And now the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming they in fact lost 2 deputies tonight. And I'll tell you, this is a heartbreaking thing, not just for Cobb County Sheriff's Department, but Cobb Police as well, and first responders who worked on these deputies, the EMS staff who transported these deputies, the ER workers. Everyone in this county will be affected by this senseless act tonight. What I can tell you as well, at the scene on Hampton Glen, that is what I'm being told this is unfolding. There is now a SWAT situation. We do know Cobb County Police, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office working together. I'm sure other agencies are also assisting. But a neighbor tells me this suspect is holed up in a home right now. She told me SWAT is in front of her home. They have been gearing up, and that is what is unfolding in this Hampton Glen neighborhood. So as you can imagine, a lot of people on edge right now in that neighborhood, because if you can take the lives of 2 deputies, you don't have a lot left to lose at this point. So what they're going to try to do is walk this suspect out. They want this to end peacefully. They want to be able to put cuffs on this individual. But again, you can see the fluidness of the situation where already shots have been fired. We do not know at this point if the deputies or police returned fire. If they did, we know the GBI will be on scene to investigate that as well. We also don't have any information about the type of warrant that was being served. All we're being told is that the Sheriff's Office, the police department were out in the subdivision serving a warrant tonight when something triggered this suspect and shots were fired. We don't know if these officers were approaching the home, if they were just holed up outside in a situation where they were just waiting for this guy to come out. We don't know those details yet. But what we do know, again, tonight, this community and this sheriff's office have lost 2 deputies in the line of duty. For some agencies, this happens, once every few years, and to lose 2 in one night, this is going to be something that affects this agency for quite some time. But right now, the situation, Ron, is that we have a SWAT situation. Obviously, it's a standoff at this point. Unclear what will happen next, but that's what I'm being told from neighbors and the sheriff's office, that again, this is a SWAT situation now. But you got to imagine it's hard for these deputies to hold some composure knowing they lost 2 of their own tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Cody. Obviously, they have to be very, very objective and try to do their job, get things done. I know you just got to the scene. A lot of law enforcement there. Is it a multi-agency task force that's there, not just Cobb County, that's assisting in trying to get this suspect out of the home?
Right now, we do not know that. I can tell you just from standing here, when we got to the scene, we were being passed by multiple officers, some of those in unmarked SUVs, unmarked sedans. This is a Cobb County police officer next to me blocking traffic. I do know Cobb County Sheriff is down there, but the totality of this, I couldn't imagine the GBI not being involved to some extent. But again, that would be me assuming right now. I do know just from witnesses, they say at least 50 to 60 officers have been flying down this road since the first call went out of an officer down.
All right, Cody, we appreciate you. I know you've been speaking with witnesses on the ground for quite some time there. Do you have any sense of how long this may have been going on and how long this situation has been developing there?
Yeah, Jennifer, I'm going to step out of the camera because I can give you the exact time that I got the tip from the neighbor in this subdivision. So as we pan down there, let me pull this up because it'll give you an idea of what we're talking about on this situation. So the first message that I got from the neighbor who told me an officer has been shot, that came in, and just bear with me for 1 minute, I'm going through these messages right now. So the first message to me came in at 7:55. That message wrote, "Police shot while serving a warrant." What I'm being told right now from this witness, literally just messaged me at 8:58, a third SWAT truck has just pulled in and parking in our neighborhood. So this shows you how large of a response we have, which means obviously there's going to be other jurisdictions unless Cobb County has 3 SWAT trucks, which typically only these jurisdictions have 1 or 2. So what that neighbor is telling me right now is a third SWAT vehicle is pulled up, which shows you this is a very, very fluid situation. So as this is going on, I'd imagine too there are officers starting to show up at the hospital to console those family members of these deputies who have been shot and killed. And again, as you can imagine, the priority right now, taking care of those families and then getting this suspect into custody safely. So once that is all resolved, I'd imagine we get an update again from Cobb County. But at this point right now, their focus is on the families of their deputies, their men and women on the force, and of course, the situation unfolding a few hundred yards behind me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know probably right now some of those deputies are going door to door, canvassing the area, maybe speaking with witnesses. And are they asking folks to shelter in place?
We have not gotten word yet, but Ron, I'm going to step out and you'll see just a moment coming up on the side. More officers are arriving here. This is another Cobb County law enforcement, I would imagine. We'll see who this is as they pull in past this roadblock with their lights on in a van behind them. So this is Fulton County Sheriff Patrick Labatt there. Okay, then we have a crime scene unit as well. This is Cobb County crime scene. That is Fulton County. So that answers your question, Ron. This is a multi-jurisdictional response, and we have another law enforcement officer pulling in here. I'm going to see who this is too. But you can see the crime scene is going to pass our camera in just one moment. And this is an unmarked truck, actually, so I cannot tell you where this truck is from. And that person is not in uniform as well. So obviously you can see people are coming from all over to assist in this investigation. So we will stay on top of this course, Ron. A lot developing out here, but we're being kept pretty far back. If you're familiar with the Marietta area, this again is John Ward Road. We're at Haversham Drive, the McNeil Farm subdivision. That is where they have John Ward Road blocked off right now. And I'd imagine it's going to stay this way because this crime scene will likely be active throughout the night because it's likely going to be a large crime scene depending on where those officers were shot in relation to this home.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, if we could stay on the scene just a little bit, Cody, because I know that you have to go out there and gather more information, because there's a couple of things I like to talk about, being former law enforcement, and I've lost a couple of friends with the Oakland Police Department in California, and I know how difficult it can be getting that phone call from the wife or the husband saying, hey, you need to come down to the hospital immediately because there has been a shooting, and just how difficult that is, especially if those officers, if those deputies, if they have children as well, and just trying to help them to navigate through all of that can be very difficult. And Cody, you pointed this out, that there's a lot of officers there, and I know that they're stoic, I know that they're focused on their job, trying to get things done, but still it's got to be very emotional for them as well.
You know, Ron, that's right. I just got to 11 Alive here a couple of weeks ago. It came from the upstate in South Carolina, and unfortunately I've dealt a lot with these officer-involved shootings. Fortunately, not many in fatalities, but when I've been with the sheriffs up there, when they have to notify these deputies, these families, it's not often you see grown men who deal with death every day and grown women break down. And I will tell you, that's because these men and women are brothers and sisters. Their families are together. It's a tight-knit family, and this is what they all know could happen, but they hope it never does. And tonight it's 2 deputies in Cobb County who are now have lost their lives in the line of duty, waking up not knowing this is what was going to happen throughout the evening. And now we have a Metro Atlanta EMS vehicle here as well heading down. That often happens when you have a SWAT situation. They will have medics on standby. We'll pan down that way because, again, that is where the scene is, Ron, as we kind of talk about what you've been mentioning. But back to that, yes, these men and women know when they wake up that, you know, there is a chance they might not come home. That's why many times they're called heroes by so many. And tonight, again, that phone call the sheriff likely himself is making to these families, they likely went to their home, escorting them to the hospital. It's heartbreaking because not only will these deputies' families be impacted, but again, the men and women these deputies talk to every day, the community members who run into them, they eat typically at the same places. So Ron, as you know, you're from law enforcement, this impacts not just this agency, but it's going to impact agencies all across Atlanta and of course Georgia as well.
Absolutely. And you know, we're going to stay on this shot right here, Cody. If you could just stand by there, sir. Stay on this shot right now. So more than likely what is taking place is you have the SWAT team that has that home surrounded right now. They're probably going to bring in maybe possibly some hostage negotiators or someone to negotiate with the person who is still inside, because we don't know if there's any hostages as well. And they're trying to get that person to give up. And as Cody pointed out, unfortunately, they bring in that ambulance just in case someone else is injured. Hopefully not an officer, but maybe the suspect or anyone else who may be inside that house. So they're at the ready. But right now they want to lock down that scene. They want to make sure that all the citizens in that area are safe as well. And I tell you what, Jennifer, there's a lot of chatter, unconfirmed chatter on social media about what's been taking place in Marietta.
That's right. So let's tell you what we know so far if you're just joining us. 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies have been killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant. That information coming from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office itself. We are told that the SWAT and FAST teams are responding. That's what you just heard Ron and Cody describing about that scene out there. We do know that these folks are very far away. Our camera is very far away, but you can see that large police and sheriff's office presence that is out there. And this is taking place in the McNeil Farms neighborhood off John Ward Road and Habersham Road. And Cody, our reporter on the scene, is telling us that this is taking place at a home off of Hampton Glen where that warrant was being served earlier this evening. Cody got a tip earlier around 7, in the hour of 7, about this happening. So this scene has been unfolding for several hours now. Our camera's moving around a little bit there to get reoriented. But again, this situation has been unfolding for several hours now. And as we heard earlier from Cody, we know that roads are closed in this area, and it's likely that police and sheriff's deputies are asking people to stay away from this area if they do not have to be there, because this is serious business. Again, as we said, this is a SWAT situation, as the suspect is apparently holed up inside of home there.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously it's very active right now. It's very tense. But as Cody pointed out, this is going to be the difficult part. When the dust is settled and this thing is resolved, hopefully it's resolved like immediately or in the next couple of hours or so, then it's really going to sink into these officers. And Cody pointed it out. This is like a subculture, a family of law enforcement. They talk that law enforcement talk. They go to different calls, so they understand each other and what they have to go through each and every day. And to lose someone, especially 2 officers or 2 deputies at the same scene is going to be very hard, very difficult. And I'm telling you, Jennifer, that for these 2 officers who lost these 2 deputies who lost their lives, more than likely you're going to see law enforcement come from all across the nation, from California, the Southeast, up north, you name it. They're going to all converge on there to show their support for that family. But as you pointed out, 2 Cobb County deputies died tonight while serving a warrant at that home. And Cody, I know that you're going to be speaking with maybe some of the residents in the area. Has anyone walked by, talked about that scene there, sir?
Ron, so the woman I originally spoke to who tipped us off to this just before 8 o'clock lives on this street. In fact, they were working on one of these deputies in her front yard. What she is describing right now is basically what she can see is that a 3rd SWAT truck is pulled up. Now, I was just looking this up on my map here because I wanted to kind of give an idea where I'm at. We're about a half a mile from where this actually is going on, because what you're noticing is more blue lights reaching us here at this checkpoint at McNeil Farm. So they just keep backing up towards us. We have reached out to South Fulton to see, or Fulton County Sheriff's Office to see what they're doing to assist here, because we did see some of those deputies show up. But right now, what we can tell you is more officers continue to arrive here. As far as that scene unfolding, I actually got a picture from inside the subdivision of that home that we're talking about. And these are large homes. I would to speculate, I mean, $500,000. These are large 2-story homes. What I can tell you is it's a cul-de-sac. There are multiple officers in that cul-de-sac. Now, this was at daylight, so I'm not giving anything away because by now the suspect knows where they're at. I would not do that to jeopardize this SWAT situation. But the picture I have shows that these officers are in a cul-de-sac and they have this home surrounded. Again, these are very large homes. So again, what we don't know, Ron and Jennifer, is what kind of search warrant, what warrant were they serving? That's what we do not know right now. But obviously this person was armed, and it's unclear if the person they were serving this warrant on is the suspect. It's a very tight subdivision out here. The names are already circulating. We're not putting that out there, but it seems like a lot of people in this area know who this gentleman is who is now holed up in this house. But for those folks in the neighborhood, they are being told to stay in place. As you can imagine, they're on edge as well. It's something they won't forget for their lifetime as well, what unfolded tonight here in the Hampton Glen subdivision.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, I've served a couple of warrants back in the day, and it's always very difficult, very dangerous. You walk up to a house, maybe you have a picture of the suspect or the person that you're trying to arrest, and you're knocking on the door, using all the proper tactics to try to keep yourself safe, try to keep your partner safe, but the person inside the house, unfortunately, they have the advantage because they can see you walking up to the house. We're not quite sure how this all unfolded, but usually 9 times out of 10, they have the advantage because they can see the officers walking up. And I'm sure we'll learn more about that later on as this investigation unfolds. So once again, 2 Cobb County deputies died tonight in the line of duty. This is according to the Cobb County Sheriff's Office while they were serving a warrant. And now, as you can see, there's an army of law enforcement there, including SWAT officers as well, trying to get the suspect out to resolve the situation.
Ron, I want to ask you, because we often hear about different activities that officers and deputies carry out on a daily basis that can be dangerous. We're talking about traffic stops and domestic violence situations. Are warrants up there with those types of interactions with the public in terms of danger for law enforcement officers?
Yeah, absolutely, because I mean, think about it. If somebody is wanted for a felony, let's say for aggravated assault or murder, we don't know what the warrant was for, If they know that they're wanted, and if they feel like I'm not going back to jail, I'm not going back to prison, those are the risks that you take as you walk up to that house. Now the SWAT team, you know, they've got body armor, they've got shields, they've got long weapons, they have all those things to provide that protection. Not quite sure what these deputies had as they walked up to the house. Possibly they just were wearing a uniform and they just had a sidearm when they walked up there. We don't know, but that is one of the most difficult situations a deputy or an officer can have, including domestic violence, because that is very charged, and we don't know if this is maybe potentially part of that. That is very charged as well, because there's so much emotion involved, and so they're very volatile situations. Warrants, domestic violence, and the other unknown, as you pointed out, Jennifer, would be a traffic stop.
And is this something usually that we see law enforcement at least doing in pairs or larger groups when warrants are served, or is this something that can even happen with a single officer or law enforcement member?
Well, more than likely, you're not going to go by yourself. Like any time that I served a warrant, like if I went out and I'm working the graveyard shift, I may grab a bunch of warrants for people who were wanted for or whatever, and then I would contact my other squad members or maybe the sergeant, and then I would give them my location, and then we would go. One person would be at the front door, and maybe another officer in the back of the house, just in case the person breaks and run or whatever. And you try to set up a little perimeter there, but you never want to serve a warrant on your own, because tactically you're obviously at a disadvantage.
And this is something that, of course, law enforcement trains for, but of course you never know what can happen on any given day. We do want to recap what we know so far as we wait for additional details to come in on this breaking news. 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies killed in the line of duty tonight while serving a warrant. We know that the SWAT team and the FAST teams are responding. We're taking a look at some video of where this is unfolding. That's in the McNeil Farms neighborhood, John Ward Road and Habersham Road. And we're told by our reporter this is happening on Hampton Glen Street or Road, a home there where that warrant was being served.
Yeah, that's right. And the video you're looking at right now, folks, this is a little bit old video, and I would consider 5 minutes old, but there's a lot more law enforcement officers there. But as these officers are going in, it's not just Cobb County, it's just not Marietta, but Cody told us that Fulton County is now providing some sort of support. Now, you may be thinking, why are there so many officers there? Well, you have the SWAT team that's focused on the target or focused on the home. Then you have to have these other officers that are canvassing the area, setting up a perimeter, trying to keep the other citizens in the area safe so that they don't come close to what may be taking place there within that home or within that area. So that's why you have so many officers, because I'm sure some citizens may be thinking, okay, yeah, I understand that a couple of deputies have been shot. Why are these officers on the scene? It's to provide support. It's to make sure that everyone else in that neighborhood remains safe.
And that's so important when we're dealing with this, especially when we see the loss of life that has already taken place. Again, we are working to get additional details. We have crews on this scene of this breaking news. Again, this is Cobb County, 2 sheriff's deputies killed in the line of duty serving a warrant. This is, again, the McNeil Farms neighborhood, John Ward Road and Habersham Road. We'll, of course, continue to keep you updated throughout the evening. Tonight at 11 on 11 Alive News at 11, and also on 11alive.com and on 11 Alive Plus. Thank you so much for being with us.
Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use near me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to
and the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality. sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are. What's coming overhead. And we're Atlanta's traffic expert.
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
we could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this
is
morning.
where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And we're Atlanta's traffic expert.
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
we could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
the 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead.
This severe weather is intensifying
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert,
we've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive.
ATL, also 11 Alive Plus. This is what we're learning just coming into the newsroom. 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies were being told by the Cobb County Sheriff's Office 2 deputies have been killed in the line of duty. I believe that we have some pictures of the crime scene, where it's taking place, where there's extreme heavy activity right now.
We understand they were in the process of serving warrants, and we are going to get live to our reporter, Cody Alcorn, who is out there on the scene. Cody, what can you tell us about what you're learning so far about this?
Ron, Jennifer, heartbreaking news here developing in Cobb County, where you just mentioned the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming 2 deputies have died tonight in the line of duty. We do know they were serving a warrant at a home on Hampton Glen in that subdivision here off of John Ward Road when something went south and this suspect opened fire. Again, we do know 2 deputies have been killed. A witness said one of those deputies was being worked on in front of her home. He was rushed to a nearby trauma center where now it's confirmed he has died. I'm going to step out of this shot right now because the scene is down here, John Ward Road. You can see blue lights as far as we can see around this bend. We can tell you that John Ward Road Southwest is closed at Habersham Drive. That's the McNeil Farms area. And the subdivision we're at, McNeil Farms, I talked to a woman. She says, look, we know law enforcement here. We have law enforcement on our street. And she told me right away that they had one down. And now the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming they in fact lost 2 deputies tonight. And I'll tell you, this is a heartbreaking thing, not just for Cobb County Sheriff's Department, but Cobb Police as well, and first responders who worked on these deputies, the EMS staff who transported these deputies, the ER workers. Everyone in this county will be affected by this senseless act tonight. What I can tell you as well, at the scene on Hampton Glen, that is what I'm being told this is unfolding. There is now a SWAT situation. We do know Cobb County Police, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office working together. I'm sure other agencies are also assisting. But a neighbor tells me this suspect is holed up in a home right now. She told me SWAT is in front of her home. They have been gearing up, and that is what is unfolding in this Hampton Glen neighborhood. So as you can imagine, a lot of people on edge right now in that neighborhood, because if you can take the lives of 2 deputies, you don't have a lot left to lose at this point. So what they're going to try to do is walk this suspect out. They want this to end peacefully. They want to be able to put cuffs on this individual. But again, you can see the fluidness of the situation where already shots have been fired. We do not know at this point if the deputies or police returned fire. If they did, we know the GBI will be on scene to investigate that as well. We also don't have any information about the type of warrant that was being served. All we're being told is that the sheriff's office, the police department were out in the subdivision serving a warrant tonight when something triggered this suspect and shots were fired. We don't know if these officers were approaching the home, if they were just holed up outside in a situation where they were just waiting for this guy to come out. We don't know those details yet. But what we do know, again, tonight, this community and this sheriff's office have lost 2 deputies in the line of duty. For some agencies, this happens, once every few years, and to lose 2 in one night, this is going to be something that affects this agency for quite some time. But right now, the situation, Ron, is that we have a SWAT situation. Obviously, it's a standoff at this point. Unclear what will happen next, but that's what I'm being told from neighbors and the sheriff's office, that again, this is a SWAT situation now. But you got to imagine it's hard for these deputies to hold some composure knowing they lost 2 of their own tonight.
ATL also 11 Alive Plus. This is what we're learning just coming into the newsroom. 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies were being told by the Cobb County Sheriff's Office 2 deputies have been killed in the line of duty. I believe that we have some pictures of the crime scene, where it's taking place, where there's extreme heavy activity right now.
We understand they were in the process of serving warrants, and we are going to get live to our reporter, Cody Alcorn, who is out there on the scene. Cody, what can you tell us about what you're learning so far about this?
Ron, Jennifer, heartbreaking news here developing in Cobb County, where you just mentioned the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming 2 deputies have died tonight in the line of duty. We do know they were serving a warrant at a home on Hampton Glen in that subdivision here off of John Ward Road when something went south and this suspect opened fire. Again, we do know 2 deputies have been killed. A witness said one of those deputies was being worked on in front of her home. He was rushed to a nearby trauma center where now it's confirmed he has died. I'm going to step out of this shot right now because the scene is down here, John Ward Road. You can see blue lights as far as we can see around this bend. We can tell you that John Ward Road Southwest is closed at Habersham Drive. That's the McNeil Farms area. And the subdivision we're at, McNeil Farms, I talked to a woman. She says, look, we know law enforcement here. We have law enforcement on our street. And she told me right away that they had one down. And now the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming they in fact lost 2 deputies tonight. And I'll tell you, this is a heartbreaking thing, not just for Cobb County Sheriff's Department, but Cobb Police as well, and first responders who worked on these deputies, the EMS staff who transported these deputies, the ER workers. Everyone in this county will be affected by this senseless act tonight. What I can tell you as well, at the scene on Hampton Glen, that is what I'm being told this is unfolding. There is now a SWAT situation. We do know Cobb County Police, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office working together. I'm sure other agencies are also assisting. But a neighbor tells me this suspect is holed up in a home right now. She told me SWAT is in front of her home. They have been gearing up, and that is what is unfolding in this Hampton Glen neighborhood. So as you can imagine, a lot of people on edge right now in that neighborhood, because if you can take the lives of 2 deputies, you don't have a lot left to lose at this point. So what they're going to try to do is walk this suspect out. They want this to end peacefully. They want to be able to put cuffs on this individual. But again, you can see the fluidness of the situation where already shots have been fired. We do not know at this point if the deputies or police returned fire. If they did, we know the GBI will be on scene to investigate that as well. We also don't have any information about the type of warrant that was being served. All we're being told is that the sheriff's office, the police department were out in the subdivision serving a warrant tonight when something triggered this suspect and shots were fired. We don't know if these officers were approaching the home, if they were just holed up outside in a situation where they were just waiting for this guy to come out. We don't know those details yet. But what we do know, again, tonight, this community and this sheriff's office have lost 2 deputies in the line of duty. For some agencies, this happens, once every few years, and to lose 2 in one night, this is going to be something that affects this agency for quite some time. But right now, the situation, Ron, is that we have a SWAT situation. Obviously, it's a standoff at this point. Unclear what will happen next, but that's what I'm being told from neighbors and the sheriff's office, that again, this is a SWAT situation now. But you got to imagine it's hard for these deputies to hold some composure knowing they lost 2 of their own tonight.
ATL also 11 Alive Alive Plus. This is what we're learning just coming into the newsroom. 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies were being told by the Cobb County Sheriff's Office 2 deputies have been killed in the line of duty. I believe that we have some pictures of the crime scene where it's taking place, where there's extreme heavy activity right now.
We understand they were in the process of serving warrants, and we are going to get live to our reporter, Cody Alcorn, who is out there on the scene. Cody, what can you tell us about what you're learning so far about this?
Ron, Jennifer, heartbreaking news here developing in Cobb County, where you just mentioned the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming 2 deputies have died tonight in the line of duty. We do know they were serving a warrant at a home on Hampton Glen in that subdivision here off of John Ward Road when something went south and this suspect opened fire. Again, we do know 2 deputies have been killed. A witness said one of those deputies was being worked on in front of her home. He was rushed to a nearby trauma center where now it's confirmed he has died. I'm going to step out of this shot right now because the scene is down here, John Ward Road. You can see blue lights as far as we can see around this bend. We can tell you that John Ward Road Southwest is closed at Habersham Drive. That's the McNeil Farms area. And the subdivision we're at, McNeil Farms, I talked to a woman. She says, look, we know law enforcement here. We have law enforcement on our street. And she told me right away that they had one down. And now the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming they in fact lost 2 deputies tonight. And I'll tell you, this is a heartbreaking thing, not just for Cobb County Sheriff's Department, but Cobb Police as well, and first responders who worked on these deputies, the EMS staff who transported these deputies, the ER workers. Everyone in this county will be affected by this senseless act tonight. What I can tell you as well, at the scene on Hampton Glen, that is what I'm being told this is unfolding. There is now a SWAT situation. We do know Cobb County Police, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office working together. I'm sure other agencies are also assisting. But a neighbor tells me this suspect is holed up in a home right now. She told me SWAT is in front of her home. They have been gearing up, and that is what is unfolding in this Hampton Glen neighborhood. So as you can imagine, a lot of people on edge right now in that neighborhood, because if you can take the lives of 2 deputies, you don't have a lot left to lose at this point. So what they're going to try to do is walk this suspect out. They want this to end peacefully. They want to be able to put cuffs on this individual. But again, you can see the fluidness of the situation where already shots have been fired. We do not know at this point if the deputies or police returned fire. If they did, we know the GBI will be on scene to investigate that as well. We also don't have any information about the type of warrant that was being served. All we're being told is that the Sheriff's Office, the police department were out in the subdivision serving a warrant tonight when something triggered this suspect and shots were fired. We don't know if these officers were approaching the home, if they were just holed up outside in a situation where they were just waiting for this guy to come out. We don't know those details yet. But what we do know, again, tonight, this community and this sheriff's office have lost 2 deputies in the line of duty. For some agencies, this
why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms.
We have breaking news right now on the WATL, also on 11 Alive Plus. We're now learning that 2 Cobb County deputies have been killed in the line of duty.
We understand the deputies were serving a warrant tonight. This taking place in Marietta. This happening near the McNeil Farms neighborhood, John Ward Road and Habersham Road. Our Cody Alcorn is on the scene there. Cody, what can you tell us? We know you've been following this all night.
So we are closer to this scene, Jennifer and Ron. What I can tell you is this witness tells me they have just loaded the second officer's body into a vehicle here on Fenwick Drive where this is unfolding. It looks like the police escort is now coming out. I'm going to step out of the way. What I'm being told is this is the police escort involving the fallen officer who was killed tonight in the line of duty while serving a warrant. That is what I understand is happening in just a moment. But what I can also tell you is a very fluid situation. We have at least 3 SWAT teams here trying to negotiate this suspect to get out of this home peacefully without anyone else being harmed. But again, this is the suspect who the sheriff says killed 2 of his deputies earlier tonight around 7 o'clock while they were trying to serve a warrant. Here is what I've also learned. So Marietta police called us up. They're not the lead here, but they are helping to talk with the journalists that are out here. I asked about what agencies are here, and he said, look, it'll be easier to tell you what agencies are not here. He said there are many chiefs here, there are many sheriffs here, all helping the Cobb County Sheriff's Office and Cobb County Police Department resolve this scene. As you can imagine, Ron talked about this when we were live a little bit earlier, that it is a hard and a heartbreaking night for this individual and for these families. Now here it comes, folks. I can now confirm you're about to see the ambulance carrying this fallen deputy right now. I'm going to let it breathe, let some silence here as we pay our respects. Ron, Jennifer, if you can hear me now, that again was the law enforcement agencies out here escorting the body of a Cobb County deputy who was killed tonight serving a warrant. He was killed, or she was killed, along with a fellow deputy here along Fenwick Drive. Again, this is in the Hampton Glen subdivision. As we watch this procession go by, these men and women who are out here carrying on their duties to hold this crime scene, to direct traffic and be assisting, all had their hands over their hearts. Again, Ron and I talked about this. Jennifer, you mentioned it too. These 2 deaths are going to impact not just this community, these law enforcement agencies, but agencies across the state. As I mentioned, Marietta police said it'd be easier to tell us what agencies are not here to assist the Cobb County Sheriff's Office on one of those nights all of these men and women know could happen, but they never want it to. It comes with their job. And that's why they're called heroes. Yeah, you know, it's absolutely heart-wrenching. And now that I think about this, Cody, and looking at what we see right there on the scene, is that the reason why you're going to have other law enforcement agencies to assist the Cobb County Sheriff's Department is because they're going to allow the Cobb County Sheriff's deputies to be able to go to the hospital, be able to grieve together. And these other officers usually show up to maybe answer call to call within that region, whatever assistance they can give while those officers deal with such a tragic situation. Cody, I was going to ask you real quickly here, as far as those 2 officers, were they part of the SWAT team, or were they just 2 deputies who were trying to serve warrants in their regular uniforms and gear? Ron, I cannot answer that. What I can tell you is that all Cobb County has confirmed is that they were going to serve a search warrant or serve a warrant of some sort. I know you're an experienced law enforcement officer. I've covered many of these. I've ridden along with law enforcement when they do serve warrants. You know, sometimes they do have a SWAT team if it is a suspect who they believe could be armed, they have a criminal past with law enforcement, or could be a danger to them or themselves. So there could have been a SWAT team here, but there's other instances that it could just be something like a direct patrol unit or just their warrant team going out to serve a warrant. As we know, there are warrants backed up for weeks and months and years. These officers try to serve these warrants when they get any intelligence that they might have a suspect at a certain home or business or location. So you never know how these things carry out. They could come with just a few deputies as backup, or they could bring an entire SWAT team. We do not know that at this point, but we do know at some point tonight things definitely went south as they were trying to serve this warrant and shots rang out. Now, the woman who tipped us off, again, one of those deputies was being worked on right in her front yard. And she told me that right now there are 3 SWAT trucks now on scene. Now, she did not tell me in those initial tips that there was any SWAT units on. She just told me SWAT is showing up, and then she texted me a couple more times and more SWAT vehicles are here. But I can tell you, we have moved up to the roundabout on the John Ward Parkway a little bit further than we were earlier when we were live on the air. And I guarantee you there's 100+ law enforcement vehicles here, from unmarked to Cobb County Police, Fulton County, but there are agencies from all over the state here. And as you guys have seen too on social media, we had the GBI and many agencies across the state and throughout the Southeast region sending their condolences now via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram to the Cobb County Sheriff's Office.
And that's something we will certainly continue to see as these days go forward. Cody, don't go anywhere. You mentioned the GBI. We do want to say that the GBI has said that they have been asked to assist in this investigation. And we're also hearing just a little bit more information from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. They're saying this remains an active incident. And that goes to the information that they initially gave us, that the SWAT and FAST teams were responding. So we know that this is an ongoing situation. And we also know, as we wait for new information from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, that giving us these details are probably their least priority right now. They're probably very concerned about their officers, about that unfolding situation, and the families of those officers who have been killed in the line of duty today. We don't know much or anything about them other than the fact that they are Cobb County Sheriff's deputies. We don't know their gender, how long they've been serving with this unit or others, but that information will certainly come in the future.
Absolutely. And so right now their priority, and Cody, you know this because you're right there on the scene, is to make sure that they can lock down that house, the house where the SWAT team members are focused on, to make sure it can be resolved quietly, make sure it can be resolved peacefully. And but if you're bringing in 3 different SWAT team vehicles, that means that they're really concerned about the danger that's on the other side of that wall, especially if you have the nerve to be able to kill 2 police officers, 2 deputies, sheriff's deputies, and remain inside, possibly locked and loaded behind those doors. So you can see why there's such a heavy police presence there, and why there are probably 3 SWAT team members or SWAT team trucks to make sure they can resolve this thing as quickly as possible. Cody, I know from your vantage point, any citizens, any neighbors walking around, I know they can't get close, but any folks out there just talking about what's taking place?
Yeah, Ron, for a lot of these people living in this neighborhood, they're coming home from work, coming from dinner, and they are locked out of their neighborhoods. So many of them are over at the Cheatham Hill Elementary School. That's the staging point. We have team coverage. My colleagues over there talking with people in this neighborhood who are stuck out here. But these folks, they know, as soon as I pulled up on the scene, this is a law enforcement friendly area. The lady who instantly rolled down her window said, "Did you hear these law enforcement officers have been shot?" We couldn't report that at that moment. Then we quickly learned from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office it was true. Her neighborhood has several law enforcement officers in that neighborhood. And Ron, as you know, we mentioned this earlier, but when you talk about law enforcement, it is a tight-knit community because very few people know what it's like to go out and put on a badge and be in the streets, except for those men and women and their spouses and their family who see that every day and know what they really do go through. So the families are also very close-knit. So I can almost imagine right now a lot of these officers who are out here, their wives, their partners, their families are with those 2 deputies' families right now, trying to console them because, again, I've talked to many law enforcement officers, sheriffs, police chiefs. When you put on the badge, you sign up for this. No day is guaranteed. That's life in general. But for these men and women, they know that. But they go in every day trying to come home to their spouses. And today, for these two deputies, that's not going to happen, and it's heartbreaking. As we just watched that procession live, it kind of paints the picture of what unfolded here this afternoon. We don't have a timetable of when this happened, but the first tip we got was just before 8. So obviously, there were multiple shots fired, Ron and Jennifer. I mean, these deputies have vests on, so again, it makes you question how many shots were fired. What kind of rifle does this suspect have, or what kind of weapon? Because he took out 2 deputies here on this scene, and these guys, these men and women, did not come here just walking up with nothing on them. They have vests, they are armed, they are prepared for this. They do this on a daily basis. So what happened here tonight in Marietta on Fenwick Street that led to these 2 deputies being ambushed is what it feels like? Or was there a shootout? There's a lot of questions we don't know, but what it paints the picture of is one deputy was down in that crime scene, the other deputy rushed to the hospital where that deputy died, and then we saw the procession as his colleagues out here put their hands over their heart. Now, right now, if we talk about what's happening in real time, we have an active standoff, and this is very fluid. As you can imagine, this guy, this woman, we believe it's a gentleman, we've gotten a name, we're not going to release that. But if he has the audacity to pull a weapon and shoot at law enforcement, much less take 2 out in one night, who knows what this person is capable of doing? We don't know if someone else is in the house. There's a lot of unknowns here, Ron and Jennifer, because again, as Jennifer just mentioned, these officers, these sheriffs, their first priority is not coming to us. As they know we're out here keeping the public in tune to what's happening, they at least give us a little bit of information. But as the Marietta officer who came out as a courtesy said, look, our priority right now is making sure we have no more loss of life and we get this individual into custody safely, because again, there's going to be a lot of emotion here, but the sheriff's there with his men and women. There's other chiefs here trying to keep a cool head and make sure they do this right. And they do want to get this suspect in cuffs alive. And Ron, I know you know this from past experience, but a lot of times they will get those cuffs from those fallen deputies and they'll lock them together and they'll put those deputies' cuffs on this suspect when they take him into custody and walk him into jail tonight.
Yeah, hopefully that happens tonight, Cody. You know, something you pointed out that is really critical here, and that is the training. And you pointed this out, that officers don't just walk up to the door and knock on the door and serve a warrant. They use different tactics as they approach the home. And so usually when you're going through that police academy, you train for that over and over and over again. They call it critical incidents, where you actually train for every type of situation that you may be involved in the future, so that if it's presented to you, you have a good idea. You have a good idea through muscle memory what to do next. But nothing is guaranteed, as you pointed out. And I remember going through hours and hours and weeks of training and critical incidents, trying to deal with an armed suspect within a home or within a building and all those things. And you try to prepare for it, but not all the time is it going to work out for you. You want it to. You want to make sure that you see. We used to say things like this, Cody, that and Jennifer, when we would leave to go out there on the street, we want to see our wall locker. Remember, our trainer said, hey, you want to see your wall locker at the end of the day. And so that was the goal, to make sure you go out, you keep the community safe, you do what you have to do, but you want to see your wall locker at the end of your shift so you can get home to your family. That was the goal, to keep the community safe and also keep yourself and your fellow officers safe. But as you pointed out, Cody, nothing is ever guaranteed.
And unfortunately, this is a situation where we don't have a lot of information. We don't know if there are civilians that are a part of this situation, this standoff with this suspect, that are in danger right now, that police are also working to secure, in addition to neighbors, because we know bullets don't necessarily have names on them, and they can go anywhere once they start flying again. So we know that law enforcement are also, in addition to looking out for themselves, they're also looking out for the people in the surrounding community there as this continues to draw on. We know that they are asking people to kind of shelter where they are in this general vicinity, and if you live in this area, it's probably a good idea to stay away and let these law enforcement agencies do what they need to do to bring this situation to a safe and peaceful close tonight.
Yeah, that's right. And something you pointed out here, Jennifer, not only are they focused on the suspect inside the home, But after they take this person into custody, hopefully they can take this person into custody, this person will give up. They then have to clear that home. So they have to go from room to room, door to door, bathrooms, bedrooms, just to make sure that there's no possible additional victims there and no potential suspects as well. So their work is not done just by arresting this person, whoever may be on the other side of that wall, but making sure that there's no victims that need assistance, maybe medical attention, and no other suspects in that home as well. So there's a lot involved, and hopefully that it does end peacefully, but we'll just have to wait and see. Cody, I know that you're still on the scene and you are trying to gather information. We have our very own Hope Ford. She's out there trying to speak with residents as well. Any more additional movement that you can see from your vantage point?
Yeah, Ron, I can tell you this. Hope is talking with neighbors right now from the subdivision. She'll be joining me live on the air in just a few minutes. She's working that aspect. I'm kind of staged right here at the roundabout near this scene. We're still probably a quarter mile away. What I'm going to do is we're going to pan kind of to this right here, and you can see some taillights. It's down that street where this is underway, so we're fairly close. At last check with my person that I've been talking with in the subdivision, she could hear them on the loud PA system asking this man to come out of the house. Because what has set up here now is the situation where the officers outside of this home are now going to be targets. Because if they don't have eyesight on this guy, he's already been able to shoot 2 deputies. They're going to be careful here. This sheriff does not want any more loss of life here on his watch for men and women in uniform. Because again, there's multiple agencies here. So you see these situations unfold. You see this across the country. You've seen this here. But it's rare, at least in my 16, 17 years of following these type of situations, to see 2 deputies shot and killed, one on the scene, one shortly after being taken away, and the suspect still holed up in a house. So obviously they feel that there is enough danger here. They're not going to just go into this home. Ron, you've been through this training. I've seen it from the outside as a civilian, as a journalist. I've ridden along with the deputies, with sheriffs. So I've gotten that kind of, insight of it. But they're going to be methodical here. They're not going to rush in because of what's already unfolded. This could last into the morning hours. We've seen these things last, up to 24 hours. They don't want this to happen, but we don't know. It's fluid. And as Jennifer mentioned, there's so many elements we do not know. What were they serving a warrant on? Who is this guy? Why was he so moved to fire at these deputies? Obviously, this person has nothing left to lose here as far as it goes as a judicial system. When you do this to law enforcement, you know what's next if you are heading to jail into the court system. So again, with that said, this is a very methodical situation, and there are multiple agencies working together and multiple SWAT teams right now, according to my witness who's on the street and watching this unfold from her house. And that's another element of this Hope's working on. These people, it's, late at night. Some kids probably have to go to school in the morning, and right now unfolding outside their neighborhood, you have a standoff and you have 2 officers been shot and killed, and this will be a crime scene for much of the night.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Rod. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jennifer, I just want to say this, and Cody pointed this out, and he talked a little bit about the tactics, and Jennifer, you and I, we discussed this during the last time that we went live with the breaking news, and any time an officer, if it's just an officer or a deputy, if they're trying to serve a warrant, if it's 2 of them, usually the officer won't go to the front door by him or herself. They'll make sure that they have a partner along with them to provide cover, just in case they need that. And sometimes they'll go with 3 officers, like someone at the front door, someone at the side of the house, someone at the back of the door, just in case the individual breaks and runs. Because I've been in situations where I've assisted other officers in serving warrants, and you try to do everything that you can to keep yourself safe, but you have no idea what's on the other side of that door. You don't know who's watching you from a window or from what perspective, and so you're always at a disadvantage. And even though they're trained very well. They're trained very well, but nothing is ever guaranteed.
Unfortunately, that is certainly the case that we are seeing tonight. If you were just joining us, 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies killed in the line of duty serving a warrant. This in Marietta. We're told this is the Cheatham Hill area. This is around the McNeil Farms neighborhood, and just a short time ago, probably within the last 15 minutes or so, we saw the procession. So we want to show you that video, the procession, we understand, of one of those fallen deputies being transported away from that scene. Let's take a look and watch. have been killed in the line of duty here. We understand from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office that this remains an active incident. We are told that the SWAT and FAST teams are responding. There is a person who is still barricaded inside a home there, and this situation is still unfolding tonight. We know that there are multiple law enforcement jurisdictions that have been responding not only to help here, but also to lend support to the Cobb County Sheriff's Department as this continues to unfold tonight.
Yeah, and it's very, very emotionally charged for law enforcement right there, but they have to keep their heads about them, and I'm sure that they are. And their focus is to try to negotiate with this guy or this gal. We're hearing different reports of who may be inside that house. They're doing all they can to negotiate with this person to get them to give up. They want them to give up peacefully so that no more lives are hurt, no one else is harmed, no one else is killed as well. But it's a methodical situation, very methodical, especially if they have 3 different SWAT team members on the scene, probably someone in front of the house, other officers on the side and from the rear as well, and they're listening. So what they're doing now, Jennifer, is not only are they negotiating probably with the guy on the other side of that door, but they're listening. They're listening to see if they can hear any other conversations, see if there's any other movement that's going on in the house, so they can determine tactically what their next move is going to be.
And there's still a lot of unanswered questions this evening. We are still waiting for law enforcement to give us a briefing so we can pass along any updated and new information to you. We are hearing from the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. They are saying that they have been asked to assist here. They have also released a statement right now via Twitter. It says, our condolences go out to Cobb County Sheriff Craig Owens and the Cobb County Sheriff's Office after the loss of 2 deputies tonight in the line of duty. And we will continue to see many statements, offerings of condolences like this one. This one is coming in from the South Fulton Police Department, responding to an informational tweet from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. And I'm trying to read it. It says, thoughts and prayers are with our law enforcement family at the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. Pray for the families and community during this difficult time. So, of course, we will continue to see these messages. Here's another one from the Paulding County Sheriff's Office. We are heartbroken to hear about the line of duty deaths of 2 Cobb County Sheriff's Office deputies. We pray for their families as well as the men and women of the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. And so this is something that we typically see. Not only do they express their condolences, but they respond. They show it in ways of service. They show up on the scene. When somebody from the Marietta Police Department told our Cody Alcorn on the scene there that it's probably easier to say who isn't there than it is to name all of the organizations and the law enforcement jurisdictions that have showed up to support the Cobb County Sheriff's Office at this time.
Absolutely. Cody Alcorn, he's been on this story since around 7 o'clock, but we broke it later on during the other newscasts. And Cody, I know you're still on the scene, and for some of those folks who may be just joining us and getting up to speed of what's taking place, you've already indicated that there's multiple agencies there supporting the Cobb County Sheriff's Department or the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. Who's out there right now? I see Cobb County's there as well, but Fulton County and other agencies, right?
That's right, Ron. When Marietta Police, as out of a courtesy, came to us here and just kind of updated us, they said it's easier to tell you who's not here than it is who is here. He said there are many chiefs and sheriffs themselves on the scene assisting the Cobb County Sheriff and just making sure this is resolved peacefully. And just kind of reset where we're at here in Marietta. What we know is this is happening on Fenwick Drive. Sometime around 7 o'clock tonight, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, the Cobb County Police, we don't even know yet which agency was specifically serving that warrant, but obviously Cobb County was here on scene. At some point during this serving of a warrant, suspect inside, a gentleman, opened fire, somehow taking out 2 deputies. So from what we've seen on the scene, we saw that escort. Jennifer and Ron showed that video. 1 deputy died here on the scene. The 2nd deputy was rushed from this scene to the nearby trauma center where that deputy died in the ER. And we mentioned this a minute ago. I mean, these deputies come in, they are loaded, they have vests, they know that anything could go south at any point. So we don't know yet what unfolded on this property on Fenwick Drive, but we do know now multiple SWAT teams are on scene, and we can tell you that it is a fluid situation. We do know from neighbors they're on the PA system trying to get this gentleman to come out. And this thing could last hours because already 2 deputies have been shot. They're not going to just rush into this and risk any other lives taken. And I can tell you there are still sheriff deputies showing up. There are still other unmarked vehicles showing up. There are deputies staged here at Irwin Road, which you're likely seeing in the shot right now, kind of on standby. We do know EMS is here. And here's the Georgia State Patrol. That's the first GSP officer I have seen show up right now. And of course the GBI will be here, but oftentimes they're in unmarked vehicles, so we won't be able to see them, but we do know they will be on site as well. And I mentioned EMS, a lot of these SWAT teams have their own EMS officers on the SWAT team. So when they do move in, if something does go south, they can immediately get to work on an officer or a suspect. So it makes you wonder, was this just maybe a low risk warrant where they showed up just with, as sometimes happens, 5 or 6 deputies show up, they're going to serve this warrant, and then maybe they got ambushed. We don't know, but obviously something went wrong on this, because it's not often you hear of something like this to this caliber happen anywhere really in the country, that 2 deputies are taken down on a warrant call. So Ron, again, you've been through this training, you know for a fact that you mentioned it, and I just want to keep harping on that, because whatever escalated here, it happened quickly to be able to catch these deputies like it did, wearing that vest, and of course also are armed as well. And unclear if the suspect's been shot or if shots were returned during that shooting.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact here, Cody, that there's a neighbor down the street who says that he heard or she heard someone on a bullhorn speaking with or yelling, giving commands to the person who may be inside that house. Do we know if that person has responded to the officers out there on the street? Any indication at all?
Right now we don't have a lot of information. I do want to mention my colleague Hope. She is working on the other aspect of this, the neighborhoods, and talking with witnesses. She just told me South Fulton confirms, or I should say Fulton County confirms, they are just an assisting agency at this time. So what it appears, Ron, to get back to your question about agencies involved, I believe what's happening here is likely Cobb County and Cobb County Police. They're probably the leading agencies on this since they were here, and they've called in for other agencies to assist for manpower reasons in case this thing goes throughout the night. So that's kind of where we're at. And I'll tell you, we got a picture. I'm not sure if you guys have shown it on air or on social or on the website, but these homes are nice. The one that's surrounded, it's a 2-story, probably 4,000 or 5,000 square feet. That's a lot of room to cover, and that's a lot of area for these deputies to have to be on a lookout, because this suspect's going to have the upper hand on these officers who are on scene. If he's got a second floor, he could be hiding behind any window, any kind of nook and cranny in this house, unless they have a layout of this home, which again, that takes time, and we don't know if there's anybody else in this house. So as we speak, it's likely the suspect has a little bit of upper hand on these teams. Even if they do have multiple SWAT teams, that person has a clear sight of what's happening outside the house, unless maybe they've cut power and stuff like that. There's a lot of elements that go into this to make sure this is resolved peacefully.
Right, you're right about that, Cody. Something else, and I'm sure tactically they're probably thinking about this, or they already have this technology. I'm sure they have night vision optics that they can still see what's going on around that house. And they're probably, I'm just assuming because I don't know, I'm not there, they're probably implementing that as well to make sure that they can actually see who is inside that house and if there's any other witnesses. And just for the folks who are just getting here right now on 11 Alive Plus or the WATL, we just want to recap real quick here. The Cobb County Sheriff's Office says that 2 deputies died tonight in the line of duty while they were serving a warrant. One officer was found dead on the scene. Cody, his contact, let him know that this is what was taking place, and then the other officer, the other deputy, later died at the hospital. And at this point, the suspect is still barricaded in that home. So that's what we know so far. That person has not given up, and we don't know the status of him as well.
That's right. Cobb County Sheriff's Office saying that this remains an active incident out there. Also telling us that the SWAT team and FAST teams are responding. Cody, who is out there on the scene, telling us from a witness that there are at least 3 different different SWAT teams that have responded, as well as a plethora of law enforcement agencies from across the state coming in to lend their support during this time, this loss of life in the line of duty. We are understanding this is happening in the Marietta area. Fenwick Drive is what we're told, and we also know that the GBI has been asked to come in and assist with this investigation, which will be ongoing for some time now, even after this active portion is concluded.
Yeah, and the difficult part right now, and I've lost a couple of friends with the Oakland Police Department in California, and I remember one in particular, the one that was really difficult for me to watch. It wasn't the incident itself, but it was the family member. I remember going to the hospital, and this particular officer, his name was Bill Grijalva. He was already in surgery, but it was not looking well. And then we learned that he had passed away. All of us officers were in the parking lot, and then his wife shows up and his children show up. We know what happened. She doesn't know. She's confused, trying to figure out what's going on. It's in broad daylight. It's in the middle of the day. That is the most difficult part of that situation, is telling the family members, this is what has happened to your loved one. You saw them this morning. Everything was fine. You guys made plans for the weekend. You're going to see him or her later that evening, that afternoon, or whatever. But now they are gone, and you're dealing with that. And then your law enforcement family, your men and women in blue who serve their communities and serve their country proudly, they're dealing with that emotionally as well. They're focused on the suspect. They're focused on doing their job, but they're also suppressing their emotions as well as they continue to navigate through this. So as this unfolds, and we've talked about this before, as the dust settles and this comes to a conclusion, a lot of these officers who may have arrived on the scene, Jennifer, those who have witnessed what they've witnessed, saw what they saw, they're going to need counseling. Those family members as well, even those who may have not been there, they're going to be dealing with the emotional trauma of what has taken place tonight for weeks, months, and years to come.
And unfortunately, we have seen this play out so many times before. One good thing is that we know that the law enforcement and the surrounding community there will certainly step up to wrap their arms around these families and this law enforcement jurisdiction, this department, this agency. We've seen stories recently of back to school times with law enforcement taking those students back for their first day of school, because we do know that law enforcement members will stand in the gap as they can and come to the aid and assistance of these families as they are going to be grieving and responding right now. We do want to get you to some new sound that we are just getting into the newsroom. We have been speaking with the community, some witnesses out there, our reporters on the ground. So let's take a listen to what some of them have been telling us this evening.
It was all kind of a blur. I know people say that a lot when they're in a kind of a scary situation like that. But now we've got fire trucks outside. We've got police cars, obviously, and then we've got ambulances, and everything's just kind of on a hold right now.
And that sound coming from a witness in that community. Obviously a very scary time for the people that also live there to watch this unfold outside their windows for several hours now. We know that Cody first got some information about this developing in the 7 o'clock hour earlier this evening. And so this has been going on for quite some time. And so clearly a very scary situation for the people that live in this neighborhood as well.
And just think about this, you're just getting off work, it's around commute time, you're coming home around 5 o'clock in the evening, 6 o'clock, whenever this incident took place. You see this army of law enforcement converge on your community, and you're wondering what is going on. What in the heck is going on? And you're talking to other neighbors, you're seeing things on social media. Then later on, a couple hours later, it's confirmed that you have lost 2 of your deputies for your county. Now just keep in mind that anytime a law enforcement officer has lost their life, is not just affecting that agency, but you have now affected that entire community. You have now fired that weapon not just at that officer, but at the entire community. And now we're learning, the producer is talking NRA right now. Hope for it is live on the scene right now with reaction from citizens. Hope.
Yeah, that's right. I've been talking to a couple of people who say they are either in this neighborhood right now or they have family members in their neighborhood. A lot of them are very, very shaken right now. A lot of them are scared. One neighbor, one person that I was talking to on Twitter here, he says that his daughter and his grandson are in the house right now. I asked to talk to them. They said that they were too scared to get off of FaceTime with his wife right now. So there's a lot of people who are in that neighborhood right now who are trying to find out what's going on, who've heard what's going on, who heard those gunshots earlier today. We just heard from that neighbor that I just talked to just a few minutes ago. He was very, very shaken whenever we first got on the phone. He could barely get out a sentence really before while he was talking about this, just saying how shaken he is. That neighbor told me that he was going up the stairs from the basement to his kitchen, and he heard what sounded like fireworks. And then not too long after that, about 3 or 4 cop cars started to show up. And of course, then there were a dozen. And of course, now you see this scene out here right now where everyone is with all of these officers, deputies that are out here right now. That neighbor told me the house where this all took place is only about 500 yards away from where he is right now, and there's messages going around on the Hampton Glen social media pages for everyone to know, stay in your house, lock your doors, told them to turn off all the lights, which a lot of them have done. And the neighbor also told me that this is a very peaceful neighborhood. They never really have a whole lot of crime, so that's what's causing a lot of those rattled nerves right now. They just kind of don't know what to do, and not only are they scared, but they're also, obviously their hearts are going out to those 2 deputies' families right now. And then at the same time, while everything's going on in there are a lot of people who are showing up to the Cheatham Hill Elementary right now, just kind of parking. They're kind of getting out, walking up just to see what they can see, to find out some more details. Of course, there's a lot of those roads that are blocked right now. So there's just a lot of different emotions that are flying around this neighborhood right now, Ron.
Hope, is that the area where people are kind of staging while this community is still blocked off, or people that maybe hadn't made it home before this started to unfold? There are a lot of people waiting there for this scene to break to be able to go back to their homes.
Yeah, that's right. So you see all of this behind me right now. So really on the other side of our camera, a little bit farther back, is that elementary school. It's not too far away. So a lot of people there are pulling off over there. They're trying to get out. Police aren't letting them walk up any farther than we are right now. They're actually telling them, stay a little bit back. So there are a lot of people who are parked in that parking lot right now, kind of either waiting for information, waiting to get in this neighborhood, or waiting to just drive down or around these roads right now. So that's kind of become a little gathering spot for a lot of people who either want to try to get into this neighborhood, pass through it, or just find out some information.
Hope, I'm looking at your scene over your shoulder right there. I can see that some of the officers are kind of standing down. I know they're part of that perimeter there. What's the emotion like with those officers? I know they're focused on doing their jobs, but what are you sensing? What are you seeing?
Yeah, it's just like you said, there's a lot of focus right now. Everyone's focused on doing their part the best way they can to assist the Cobb County Sheriff's Department right now. I did confirm with the Fulton County Sheriff's Office that they are out here as well. They're just on standby to help assist in any way that they need. We've seen officers come and go. We did see a convoy of law enforcement vehicles going down the road just a few minutes ago, so we're not exactly sure if they were escorting anyone away at that point, but we did see there. But we see behind us that there are cop cars that are coming and going, and police vehicles behind us right now. So everyone is just focused on what can we do right now to make sure that the Cobb County Sheriff's Department can do their jobs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It certainly does, Hope. We appreciate that report. We know that this is a situation that is not only affecting the law enforcement community, but also those that live and work in that surrounding area as well.
Yeah. Hope, thanks a lot. We're going to get back with you a little later on, Hope, and Cody as well. And, part of this deal here as well, Jennifer, is what's going on is when you see all these multiple agencies coming to Cobb County, they're also assisting what we don't see. They're also assisting going from call to call. There are people still calling about maybe a burglary report, maybe a theft report, whatever that officers normally do on a day-to-day basis. Well, those Cobb County Sheriff's deputies are tied up. Many of them are maybe at the hospital where the one officer died, and they're trying to offer support to the family. Well, they want to make sure that those calls don't go unanswered, those 911 calls. So then you have other agencies come in. You may have off-duty deputies and officers who may come to that community to go to call to make sure that Cobb County and the Cobb County Sheriff's Office is represented, and make sure they're taken care of.
All right. We do want to get back out to Cody Alcord, who has been out there on the scene for hours now. Cody, do you have any new information? Have you spoken with anybody new at this hour?
We don't have any new information as far as that standoff and if that suspect has brought into custody. What we understand is that it's still a fluid situation here at this hour. I can tell you, according to Flight Tracker, we do have a GSP helicopter hovering above us. So that's what you are hearing behind the scenes is a GSP helicopter. And I can also tell you, I just passed along our condolences from 11 Alive to the sheriff who just walked by me. He is now on scene, likely was with the families of those deputies, but he is right now walking right by the Irwin Road sign. That is the sheriff who is now on scene. Very tough night to him. When I said, we're sorry for your loss, he just looked and said thank you, but you could tell on his face this is a heartbreaking night for him. This is on his watch. When he took this job, he knew that, and this is what they do not want to ever happen. He did not want to have to go talk to those families, console those families. And while he has an active situation on his hands, now you got to think, a few days out, he's going to be planning funerals for these deputies. And typically when we hear about an officer down, it's one deputy. But here in Cobb County, they're going to have to lay to rest 2 deputies, and I will tell you that is going to be a heartbreaking sight to see law enforcement from across the state and region come into Marietta, come into Cobb County, and pay their respects to these 2 deputies who died in the line of duty and died heroes. But here tonight, what is happening in real time is, again, the sheriff of Cobb County now on scene, walking up to this standoff, where, as you can imagine, he wants this thing resolved fast. And we mentioned this, Ron, a lot of times they will bring those deputies' handcuffs who were killed with them back to the scene and put those on this suspect. The idea, the method here is they want this person, this man who we understand is in this house, to come out peacefully and to be able to bring him into jail tonight. That is what they want. But you mentioned it, there's a lot of emotions on this scene tonight, and that's why so many officers are here and so many agencies, is to make sure this thing is followed by the book, because they don't want their emotions to play into this when they train for this. They want to make sure this goes by the book and they get this suspect into custody. From witnesses, we understand they're still on the PA system trying to get this guy to come out of this home. We do believe it's a 2-story home he's in, so he's got a lot of room to move around in this house. So we do know that GSP chopper is up if this guy happens to run, which I'm sure he's not going to get far, because this entire Hampton Glen area, Fenwick Drive, it is on lockdown. No one in, no one out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Cody, because if you've got 2 or 3, as you pointed out, 3 SWAT team members that have that house surrounded right now, there is nowhere to go. And then also, if you have support from the air, where you have the helicopter unit shining that bright light on top of that home, then yes, there's no way to run. There's just no way to get out of there. Very difficult for law enforcement there on the scene as they continue to navigate through all of this. And once again, folks, if you're just joining us, and I'm sure you probably saw this on social media, that 2 sheriff's deputies from Cobb County killed in the line of duty tonight while they were issuing a warrant on a home. And before you know it, one was killed, as we were told, on the front lawn or right in front of the house, pronounced dead at the scene, and another one died later on at the hospital.
Cody, you've been following this for several hours now, and I know you've been speaking with witnesses. Can you kind of piece everything together, the little nuggets of information that you're getting from this person that's actually inside this neighborhood where this is all taking place?
Yeah, I'll reset this scene for you, because again, people might now just be joining us here on the air and online. So around 7:50, I was in the newsroom right next to you two when I got this tip, hey, there's been an officer shot in my neighborhood. Well, we immediately started making calls. We jumped in the car, we got out here, and when we got on scene, this entire area was lined with cops. As we started getting more information, as soon as I rolled up, neighbors said, have you heard about these 2 officers? At that time, we couldn't go on the air with them, but we knew this was bad. And then within just a few minutes, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirmed 2 of their deputies have been killed tonight in the line of duty while serving a warrant. What we don't know is the type of warrant they were serving and who the suspect is. Once that started playing out, my witness who lives on this street and saw them working on the 1 deputy who was loaded onto the ambulance and taken to a trauma center, what this neighbor told me is that within a few minutes, the SWAT team started showing up, 1, 2, and then she said a third one is now on scene. She's heartbroken. She watched them work on this deputy near her front yard, watched them load this deputy into the ambulance, and then rush him to the trauma center where they couldn't do anything for him. It's heartbreaking, I can tell you, being out here. It's hard for us because we're doing our job, but also trying to be respectful as we talk about this, because you have grown men and women out here brought to tears. They work together, they have each other's backs, they get in situations where some nights they're counting their blessings they got home safely. And for tonight, 2 of their colleagues are not coming home to their wives, to their families, to their moms, to their dads. And I think sometimes we forget those elements because we become so cold to this, because we deal with this tragedy so much in our business, and these officers do. And it really does hit you when you are on scenes like this and you watch how they interact, because again, this will forever impact these deputies. Some of their colleagues were with them. Some of their colleagues likely pulled them to safety while they were, I hate to be this blunt, but dying right there on this street. It's what people don't see because we don't get close enough. We are not a part of this culture, but a lot of times that's what happens. These deputies went into rescue mode trying to save their colleague, and they're going to walk away tonight. Why couldn't we do more? Why did this happen? What happened? It's the effects of what will happen down the road are really what hits you. And just on social media, the theme of tonight is, I'm heartbroken, but I'm furious. A lot of people sending those sentiments that, yes, they're heartbroken, but they're mad. Why did this have to happen? They were serving a warrant. All this person had to do was walk out of the house, go to jail, do their time, and get out. But that did not happen tonight on Fenway Drive here in the Hampton Glen neighborhood in Marietta.
Yeah, that's right, Cody. And we should point out, Jennifer, there's been a lot of chatter on social media, even from law enforcement officials as well. And I believe we have some of that we can put up on the screen. The GBI responding tonight, sending their condolences, as well as the Paulding County Sheriff's Department sending their condolences as well. A lot of folks out there. This is from the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. They say, our condolences go out to Cobb County Sheriff Craig Owens and the Cobb County Sheriff's Office after the loss of 2 deputies tonight in the line of duty.
We have another one, this coming from the City of South Fulton Police Department, saying thoughts and prayers are with our law enforcement family at the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. Pray for the families and community during this difficult time. We're also seeing other messages coming in from the Paulding County Sheriff's Office saying we are heartbroken to hear about the line of duty deaths of 2 Cobb County Sheriff's Office deputies. We pray for their families as well as the men and women of the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. So we're seeing a lot of different jurisdictions, not only here, but we're also seeing some people respond on social media from outside of Georgia that are hearing about this and offering their condolences as well as this story continues to develop and more people start to hear about what's happening.
Absolutely. Hope Ford is live on the scene as well, along with Cody, and she spoke with a lot of residents out there who are expressing their condolences as well. Hope.
Yeah, that's right. And just as you were talking about that, I'm reading some of the messages as well that are being sent to the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, the Dunwoody Police Department. They're saying we're saddened to hear about these 2 Cobb deputies who were killed on the line of duty, obviously asking for prayers for those families right now. And Jennifer, as you just said, that this news really in a few short hours has really gotten outside of Georgia, and there's so many communities that are responding. There's an organization out in Winter Springs, Florida. It's called Running for Heroes, and it's an organization that runs for fallen police officers. They're already preparing to schedule a run on Monday or Tuesday of next week in order to honor these 2 deputies. So a lot of people are heartbroken right now. As far as some of the residents that I've been talking to who live in this neighborhood, they're not only heartbroken, but right now they're very, very scared. A couple of people that I've talked to have all used that terminology, that right now they're just scared and they're wanting information. They're wanting to find out what is going on right now. I talked to a neighbor a little while ago who says that he's only about 500. He's in his house only about 500 yards from the house where this all happened earlier today. Take a listen to what he told me.
It was all kind of a blur. I know people say that a lot when they're in a kind of a scary situation like that. But now we've got fire trucks outside. We've got We've got police cars, obviously, and then we've got ambulances, and everything's just kind of on a hold right now.
And that neighbor that you just heard from, when I first started talking to him, he was so shaken he could barely get, one sentence out. But he was able to tell me he was coming upstairs from his basement, and then he just heard what he originally thought was fireworks, because he said it was rapid fire. And then when he started seeing those police cars show up, that's when he realized that those were gunshots that he was hearing. He said that one of the deputies did pass away in his neighbor's yard, that from where he could see. And he said that, immediately everyone, when they found out that there was a SWAT situation going on out here, that everyone started posting on that Hampton Glen social media pages to just tell people to stay in their houses, lock the doors, turn off the lights. And again, they're saying that this is a very peaceful neighborhood. They really don't have a lot of crime around here. So that's another layer that's kind of rattling everyone's nerves out here tonight, Ron and Jennifer.
Yeah, and Hope, you brought this up, and we talked about this in the previous live shot that you did. So some of the witnesses, you say they heard multiple gunshots during that time?
Yeah, that's what those neighbors tell me, that they heard either fireworks or they heard what sounded like rapid fire. No one's really been able to tell me they've heard, a definite number of gunshots. I think that this all happened so suddenly and no one was expecting it in this community. And again, at first, the neighbor I talked to thought it was fireworks. And then when he saw police cars, that's when he realized, no, those were gunshots. So no one's been able to tell me exactly how many shots they think they might have heard out here tonight, but they do believe that it was multiple.
Okay, hope for it for us tonight. Thank you. I know you're going to be on the scene for us later on in the broadcast.
And if you're just joining us, once again, we are dealing with this breaking news story. 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies killed in the line of duty serving a warrant. This in the Marietta area. We understand that this is an active incident still unfolding. The SWAT and FAST teams responding. This is a look at this area where this happened. We understand this is near Fenwick Drive, the Hampton Glen area, and we did see also near the McNeil Farms neighborhood. So this is also a larger area because we know that so many law enforcement units have responded. So it's difficult to pinpoint exactly where this is unfolding because we know that so many law enforcement officers have responded out there to that scene, and so much of that area has been blocked off to people as they work to secure and end this situation peacefully.
Yeah, they're just trying to keep those folks safe, and hopefully it can have a peaceful resolution. The one thing that we noticed tonight that was very emotional, very touching, is a procession. So there was an officer, one of the officers who was killed in the line of duty, still at the crime scene. They placed that officer inside of an ambulance. Then they had a procession come out with officers following. Let's watch and listen in. So as we watch this procession, you see all those officers leaving the area. Cody told us as well that some of those officers place their hands over their heart, or maybe they're saluting because many of them, just like myself, they're veterans and they serve their country. Now they're serving their community. And so they're showing respect for those officers, even if they didn't know them. That's part of their family. And that's what they're doing to show their respect.
And so many others from across the nation are showing their respect and offering their condolences tonight as well. This tweet from the New York City Police Commissioner saying, tonight, we pray for our law enforcement partners at the Cobb County Sheriff's Office and the communities they serve in Georgia. The tragic loss of their deputies is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers faced by law enforcement across the country. Hashtag never forget. Our Cody Alcord has been live on this scene for several hours. We want to go back to him now. Cody, any new information, anything new that you can tell us about this developing story?
I just want to give you some perspective on how far-reaching this is. So I just recently came to 11 Alive from the upstate of South Carolina. I just had a state trooper from South Carolina Highway Patrol reach out to me. I've had a couple people from the Greenville County Sheriff's Office reach out to me. So you can already tell the magnitude of what has taken place here in Cobb County. We're talking 2 hours away, law enforcement officers who are working tonight in other states reacting to this. I know there are some inklings of who the suspect is. We've heard from neighbors who this person is. We're not going to go on the record with that because, again, right now, the concern is getting this guy into cuffs safely. What we do understand, and I just spoke with the person who tipped me off, who lives just a house or two down from the home where the suspect is barricaded inside. What I'm told, there was no SWAT presence before these shots rang out. Now, if you've covered these long enough, if you've been a part of this, you know that means likely this was not a high-risk offender, meaning this wasn't a murder suspect, this wasn't someone with aggravated assault or someone they thought was a threat to these officers. Now, I could be wrong, but again, that's typically what we see in these situations when you don't see a SWAT team with officers serving a warrant. They usually have a warrant service within their department, and they'll send a couple officers out. Of course, they don't walk up not prepared. They'll be armed. They have their vest on, and they're going to try to take this suspect into custody, let this person serve their time, and mark this warrant as served. But something happened here tonight, because this neighbor tells me it was not until after that one deputy was shot and killed at this home, the other one hit, pulled to safety and being worked on, that she saw the first SWAT truck come into this neighborhood here at Hampton Glen on Fenwick Drive. So, as we piece this together with little information we have, that kind of paints the picture that, you know, this is not going to be a high-level offender that required a SWAT team at first. But again, it's not to take away anything from these officers who are out here. They serve warrants every day like this. Just a few officers who show up, they do their job, they take these people to the jail, they book them, and they go on to the next warrant. So that's what we're being able to piece together as we talk to witnesses, because again, these deputies, this sheriff we saw, their first priority is not coming to talk to us. If something major was happening, they would come out here and let us know, to let the community know. But right now, this is a contained scene. They have this suspect surrounded. This neighborhood, Hampton Glen, they are on lockdown. Many neighbors can't even get to their homes. GSP helicopter circling above in case somehow this person gets out and tries to run. But I assure you, with 3 SWAT vehicles and over 150 officers, multiple jurisdictions, that home is surrounded and no one's coming out. What they're trying to do is to get this guy out safely without anybody being harmed, including that suspect. But again, from the pictures we've seen, from the description we've gotten, this home is a large house. So he probably has the ability to go from second floor, the attic, to a first floor, to the garage, to the attic above the garage. There's a lot of scenarios that are playing out here. And these deputies, these SWAT teams are being methodical. They train for this. They know what they're doing. But again, when you have someone that's got the mindset to shoot at law enforcement, much less kill 2 deputies, this person has nothing left to lose, Ron and Jennifer. And that's the scary thing here tonight, is what could happen over the next few hours. But I almost bet they will take their time, and this thing could drag on into the early morning hours, because here we are at 10:40, and we know this thing, when we got tipped off, was around the 7:30 hour this evening.
Yeah, that's right. And tactically speaking, Cody, I mean, you brought up a very important point. Tactically speaking, I mean, you would think, well, the officers can just kick in the door and maybe go in there and find the suspect, but you don't know what they may know, the intelligence, the intel they may know in making that decision. They may not want to just rush through the front door and go find this person who may have, or who did, shoot at these deputies. They could be concerned if there's other victims in the home. I mean, they haven't released that information. We don't know if there's more than one person in the home at this point. So they're going to try to wait it out, maybe negotiate with this person. And you said that they're already using the PA system to try to coax this person out. And so it is a waiting game. They don't have to rush in. They can take their time and methodically try to use every resource that they have to get for this guy or this person to eventually give up. Yeah, it is a very fluid situation.
And sorry, Jennifer, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this is a fluid situation, just like you were saying, Cody, because there are still questions that we don't have answers to right now, especially what was this warrant being served for? Yeah. How did this breakdown happen that led to these officers or these deputies being killed in the line of duty? We still have a lot of information that is outstanding. And Cody, you mentioned not too long ago that speaking to us to relay this information to our viewers, that's not the top priority of the law enforcement community right now. Cody, you did mention as well that the sheriff has recently arrived out there on the scene, likely spending time with the families of these officers prior to either returning or coming back out to that scene. And so that's just another layer of all of this, dealing with this unfolding scene out here and also balancing the care that's needed for these families who won't have a loved one returning home this evening.
Absolutely. And we've talked about this before, that this is a subculture. This is a culture that's outside of the regular citizens, you know, if you use police speak. So this is a subculture of law enforcement family. They understand that every day is a risky day. Every day that they could possibly lose their life. Every day they may not see their loved ones again, their husband, their wife, their partner, their children. They know that that is the risk that they're going to take to try to keep strangers, to try to keep their community safe. But it's still difficult when it does happen, when they lose one of their brothers or sisters in law enforcement, because it touches everyone. And Cody talked about, and you actually read from New York, from the state of New York, that talked about how they're giving their condolences as well. And you've read some condolences. But I guarantee you, you're going to have law enforcement from across the country who are coming to Georgia to pay their respect, to show their support for their law enforcement brothers and sisters. I wouldn't be surprised if they came as far as LA or Idaho, whatever, just to make sure they know that they're cared for and that they support them and they love them as they navigate through this tragedy.
Let's get back out to the scene now with our Hope Ford. She has been speaking with witnesses and people in that community. Hope, what can you tell us at this hour?
Right now, as you were just talking about, those condolences coming from all over the place. The chief for the Atlanta Public Schools Police Department, he just said that he is keeping the families and co-workers of the deputies killed in the line of duty tonight in their thoughts and prayers. So there's a lot of condolences that are coming out to the Cobb County Sheriff's Department right now. And right now, everything around here is kind of a little bit at a standstill. Everyone out here on this side are, really just trying to stay focused right now to make sure that that everyone over there can focus on their jobs right now. But I have been speaking to some witnesses. I spoke to one person who says that the house where this is all taking place is only 500 yards away from where he is right now. Let's take a listen.
When I was going up the stairs of our basement into our kitchen, I heard, it sounds like fireworks, and then I saw about 3 or 4 cop cars come, and then I just heard more of them coming, and then there was probably, I would say, at least a dozen cop cars just on the street, on the main street of our neighborhood.
And you heard that neighbor talking about what he thought was, those fireworks. And then whenever he saw those law enforcement vehicles start to pull up, that's when he realized they were gunshots. He did tell me later on that it did, of course, sound like it was rapid fire. It was all kind of a blur is what he said. And he said that, people in that community, they were posting on their social media pages trying to tell everybody, hey, stay in your house, lock the doors, turn off the lights, which is what they're doing right now. So he says that they've been in the same situation, kind of waiting for more information, kind of waiting for all of this to end, as everyone out here is waiting for that right now. Called it a peaceful neighborhood, said they don't have a lot of crime right now, so there are a lot of rattled nerves right here in this neighborhood. Ron and Jennifer.
Hope, I know you mentioned folks being scared earlier, and rightfully so, especially if you aren't familiar with these situations. And we already see if this is a situation where law enforcement officers have been killed, it's like who knows what could happen next. So a lot of fear tonight in that community as these law enforcement officers work to address this still very active unfolding situation in the Marietta community. We know the SWAT teams are out there. That witness telling our reporter Cody Alcorn on the ground that there were at least 3 SWAT teams responding. Let's get back to Cody now. Cody, what are you hearing? What can you tell us? I know you mentioned also that you're hearing that helicopter up above.
Yes, that is the Georgia State Patrol chopper above. Just keeping an eye on this scene down here in case anything develops. I just talked with...
All right, looks like we're having some technical difficulties. You have to keep in mind here, folks, that when we're going live, especially since we've been live for the past, 2 to 3 hours, trying to keep you updated on what's taking place, is sometimes batteries go out. So we're going to get back to Cody as soon as we can. But basically, what's so difficult about this entire situation is the waiting game. And Cody has talked about the waiting game. You have this individual possibly still inside this house. We don't know if it's just one or maybe multiple people, but now we're hearing it's just one, and those officers have to be emotionally sound and not get emotionally charged in this situation and try to focus on methodically trying to get this guy out of the house to surrender, to give up. And as Hope has also pointed out, a lot of the neighbors are rattled as well. I think Cody has figured out the technological situation, and he has more. Cody?
Yeah, Ron, Jennifer, sorry about that. My microphone went out just for a moment.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was the Georgia State Patrol does have their chopper up. It's monitoring from the air. And I was saying I did talk with this neighbor who says it is ongoing. They are still trying to talk the suspect out to end this peacefully without having to breach the home. Because you can imagine if they have to go in, there are going to be a lot of shots fired, and then you're talking about possibly somebody hit with friendly fire, the suspect being hit, firing back. We've already lost 2 deputies here tonight. They do not want any more loss of life regarding anyone involved in this. It is still very fluid. This area is still closed down at Irwin Road, Fenwick Drive, lined with law enforcement officers. There's also a scene at the nearby hospital at the morgue. That's where they took the one deputy that we saw leaving this scene, and then of course that second deputy will be taken there. We saw the sheriff walk up a moment ago. I'm sure he was out here previously, but was consoling with the families who he had to break the news to, and of course just offer condolences, but he had to come back out here. And that is what is really hard for a lot of these men and women, that yes, they have lost 2 brothers in blue, or sisters. We do not know the details yet, but they have to come back out here and continue their job. We have not gotten any information on the record about these 2 deputies. Obviously, we're respecting the privacy for those families as they're still notifying other family members. And obviously, we're respecting the officers who are out here. Right now, the main focus is making sure everyone who is on scene now goes home safely to their families, because for these 2 deputies, they are not getting that courtesy tonight, all due to one man's senseless act tonight to open fire. And the question is really going to be what happened on this property on Fenwick Drive, because again, this was one of those situations, and it's why so often you never call anything routine. If you're ever around a deputy, an officer, a sheriff, a chief, they'll always say there's no such thing as a routine stop. There's no such thing as a routine call, because what we saw here today proves that theory. This was a warrant call. They do it every day, but it's not routine because 2 officers were shot and died on this call. And that is one thing we always point out is, nothing's routine in this line of work.
Yeah, that's right. I remember as a young officer, I've made multiple car stops. I've been in several car chases. I've served several warrants or multiple warrants before, but you always go back, Cody and Jennifer, to the training that you had in the academy, the training that you did every single year to make sure you're updated on the tactics and what you're going to do on the street, so that it becomes part of your muscle memory. But then there are situations such as this one where it just doesn't turn out right, and obviously this is what happened here, that regardless of the amount of training, regardless of the amount of repetition, things can go bad.
That certainly is the case, unfortunately, and we are still waiting for additional information from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. All we have so far is that 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies were killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant, and that the SWAT and FAST teams are responding. We know that there is a suspect barricaded in this situation, right, and that's pretty much the extent of what we have been told. We also know that they are saying that this does remain an active incident, and they are continuing to work it. at this map kind of gives you a better idea of where this is taking place. Cody and our Hope Ford out there on the scene near Fenwick Drive near Irwin. And so this is still a very fluid situation with those officers dealing with this standoff and with so many law enforcement agencies from across the state coming in to lend their support and give that extra support at this time as they are dealing with their emotions, with these condolences and with this standoff situation, on top of needing to respond to other incidents that may be taking place across this community, across this jurisdiction. Again, we are waiting for additional information to come from our crews that are in the field, from law enforcement, to give us anything updated. Cody telling us not too long ago that the sheriff had responded or had returned to that scene.
Yeah.
We believe he may have been there earlier. We believe he may have been potentially offering condolences and comfort to the families who have lost loved ones. And so we are waiting to get that new information. And of course, we'll continue to bring you those updates as we get them. Meanwhile, we have been talking about what we've been hearing from witnesses from our reporters on the ground as well, Ron.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of witnesses saying that they were terrified when they heard the gunshots, wondering what was going on. But something else that we should point out, because you mentioned the fact that it's a very emotional situation. Once the dust is already settled, they still know where the suspect is. Then they have to start to deal with the grieving process. And they began that tonight. We witnessed that tonight live on the WATL on 11 Alive Plus, and that's when they loaded up the body of one of those officers that was killed in front of that home, put them inside the ambulance, and then a procession left where that officer was killed. And we have that video. Let's listen in and watch. As you can see, a lot of emotion there. Some of the officers having their hands over their hearts, some of them saluting as well. And we pointed this out before, if you're just joining us, that many of them were not just in law enforcement, but possibly in the military, showing their respects for their brothers and sisters in blue. And we've talked a lot about that respect and those condolences that are pouring in from not just across the state of Georgia, but across the country as well. Here's a message from the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, them sending this out on Twitter, saying our condolences go out to the Cobb County Sheriff Craig Owens and the Cobb County Sheriff's Office after the loss of 2 deputies tonight in the line of duty. Another message coming in from the city of South Fulton's police department saying thoughts and prayers are with our law enforcement family at the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. Pray for the families and community during this difficult time. We're also hearing from the Paulding County Sheriff's Office. They're saying we are heartbroken to hear about the line of duty deaths of 2 Cobb County Sheriff's Office deputies. We pray for their families as well as the men and women of the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. That message posted on Facebook this evening. So we are seeing countless messages like this one coming in. We mentioned from across the country as well. This from the New York City Police Commissioner saying tonight we pray for our law enforcement partners at the Cobb County Sheriff's Office and the communities they serve in Georgia. The tragic loss of their deputies is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers faced by law enforcement across the country. So these messages are just a sampling of what is out there online. We can't show them all because there are so many that have been coming in this evening as this situation has continued to unfold. You know, Jennifer, one thing that we haven't shown our viewers out there, but we can see it on other monitors that are here within the studio. I can watch and see some of these officers who are walking around the crime scene, and we're not showing it just to show respect for them. And you can tell that they're grieving. You can tell that they're really saddened by what has happened, rightfully so, obviously so, but it really hits home for them that they're going through what they're going through right now. And I'm sure many of them are consoling each other, speaking with each other, trying to let them know that they're going to get through this together. Cody Alcorn, who's been on this story from the very beginning, you broke this, I would say, right after 7 o'clock when you got that call from one of your contacts out there. What are you seeing now, Cody?
Ron, I think this is the sheriff walking up this direction, I believe, and I'm just going to see if we can confirm if this is over or not. Give me 1 second here. It's resolved yet? No, sir. Okay, so we can confirm this is not resolved yet. So this is an ongoing situation. So no resolve here on Fenwick Drive as far as the standoff with this suspect who tonight has killed 2 Cobb County deputies on Fenwick Drive somewhere around the 7 o'clock hour. To reset, if you're just joining us, I know Ron and Jennifer have been talking about this, but they were serving a warrant here at a home on Fenwick Drive when obviously something went south and this suspect opened fire, hitting both of these deputies, which also makes you wonder what kind of weapon does this guy have, because one of those deputies died there on the property. The second one was pulled out to a neighbor's house. That's where they were working on this deputy for quite some time, because I got the tip at 7:55 is when I got this text. I was on the road almost to Marietta when the same person said they just loaded this deputy in and they are hauling out of the neighborhood, being escorted to the trauma center. So obviously this suspect had a good line of sight and was able to hit these deputies, and it really does make you wonder what happened. Was this an ambush type thing? Did this guy have any idea they were going to show up? That's what we want, a few answers to, and we'll get those in the coming days, because again, right now, for the sheriff and for these men and women, their main focus first is to get this suspect into custody, and then of course these families and what's going to come in the days, weeks, and months to come. Now there are more law enforcement heading our way in this roundabout. I'm not for sure if they're coming from a different end of Fenwick Drive, but you can see they are leaving, which does not mean anything as far as a resolution here. There's a lot of things happening. A lot of these deputies will be going to help with other families of these deputies as well who were killed here in this shooting tonight. There's a lot of different aspects of the investigation ongoing now. So the other thing, Ron and Jennifer, we haven't mentioned this, and I do want to hit on this. While there's probably 150 plus officers here, there's a lot of other calls happening tonight in Cobb County that have to be answered. And that's another thing. I would not be surprised if other agencies have signed up to assist to answer some of those calls tonight, because you can see now another deputy's car pulling in. So that's the other thing we should look at is, they still have to answer calls tonight in emergencies throughout Cobb County while dealing with this as well.
That's right. Me and Jennifer were talking about that. I remember as a young officer, and when we had someone go down, then you have other agencies that would come within our city, and they would still answer those calls of service, whether it was a theft or a burglary or whatever, because the citizens still have to be serviced.
That's right. And Cody, we see some people in the background of that shot there. Are these people that live in that community? Do you have any idea, or are these people maybe just walking over from that staging area, since this community is still kind of blocked off there for people? Do you have somebody
Jennifer,
there to
Ron,
speak
real fast, I want to bring in, I do. So this young man just walked by me. You tell me you actually landscape for this suspect.
Yes.
What I don't want to identify anybody here, so don't use any names, but you just walked up from here. So what can you tell us about this neighborhood and this home where this is happening?
I mean, it's just a really shocking thing, because it's a really calm neighborhood. It's, you don't imagine these type of things in these neighborhoods. I actually do cut their house. They seem like really nice people, but I mean, you don't imagine these type of things just coming out here. It's just like a sad thing what's going on, that you killed 2 cops. I mean, you're sitting here and just thinking about, they just killed 2 cops. I won't lie to you, I was in that neighborhood cutting a house earlier. Luckily, it's now we're nowhere near in that neighborhood. It's right close to the exit. But I mean, again, I was in that neighborhood, and you can't just imagine. I thank God I was out that neighborhood, before everything happened. So. And
thankfully you weren't there when this happened. Did you hear the gunshots? How did you find out what was going on Fenwick Drive?
Actually, I was heading to get dinner with my girlfriend. I just see a bunch of cops, bam, bam, a whole bunch of cops. I noticed one almost flipped over, because I was like, man, this has to be like a really big thing. So I'm over here not thinking anything of it. Hopefully there's nothing near me. Sadly, it had to be something that's right behind us. I mean, I hate to. I send out my condolences to that family, those 2 families that lost their loved ones. It's just, I don't have any words for it.
And again, I don't want to name any names because, again, we do not know this person and we have to confirm all of that. But what can you tell us? Is this a family that lives there? Is it a single person, married?
Again, I won't say any names. It's a mom with two kids. You know, well, not kids, they're grown up. You know, they're in their early, late 20s. But I mean, again, they seemed really nice. I cut their house. I'm always talking to them. Hey, what's up? You know, I got to their house. They always came out with water bottles. Gave me water bottles. That's about it. And you know, I went about my day. We had some small little talks, and that's it. They never seemed like they were these type of people.
And have you heard, is anybody in the house with this person?
No, I have not heard anything. I have not.
Well, we're glad you're safe. We're glad you're at that home tonight. Be safe.
Thank you. You as well. Good night.
And again, you just heard there, as I step out, I'm going to let you see the scene there. That was the landscaper who's in the neighborhood as well. So that's mine. Yeah, thank you guys. So again, you can see a lot of people just trying to figure out what's going on as well. And for that young man, what a tragic event to be cutting lawn, then all of a sudden be surrounded with law enforcement like this. And again, so we don't know much about this, but you heard him say it's a mother with two grown kids. So if you you look at this, it could be one of those individuals because we are told it was a man. So I want to go back to you guys right now.
All right, Cody, thanks a lot for that update, and thanks a lot for being able to speak with that neighbor to give us a better perspective of what actually took place.
Again, we do have limited information this evening, but what we do know from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office is that 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies have been killed in the line of duty serving a warrant. The SWAT and FAST teams are on the scene of what's still an active situation. A standoff with the suspect here. We'll, of course, continue to follow this for you throughout the evening and on 11alive.com. And on 11 Alive News at 11. We thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you can always get the latest information on 11 Alive Plus and inside our 11 Alive News app.
on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this
is
morning.
where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you
driving.
get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
Where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. Where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing
we
in.
could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News
We began with breaking news this
is
morning.
where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you
driving.
get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
Where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. Where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing
We
in.
could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News
We began with breaking news this
is
morning.
where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Live News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? 11 Alive News at 11 p.m. starts now.
Folks, we're going to begin tonight with breaking news. 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies have been killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant.
Right now, John Ward Road Southwest is closed at Habersham Road. That's seen just off Barrett Parkway Southwest. The suspect is currently in a standoff with officers. We have team coverage tonight from our Hope Ford and Cody Alcorn on the scenes. So let's get out to Cody Alcorn first. Cody, you have been out here covering this for hours now. What can you tell us?
Jennifer, we can tell you this standoff is in its 3rd hour right now. What we have learned from witnesses and from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, officers were out here serving a warrant when all of a sudden shots rang out from this 2-story home. 1 deputy killed on scene. That 2nd deputy who was shot pulled off the property. That's when they started working on this deputy, then loaded him into an ambulance, took off to the local trauma center, but unfortunately there was nothing that those doctors could do in the ER. And tonight, the entire agency, the entire state and Southeast mourning the loss of 2 law enforcement officers killed just doing their job. I'm going to step out of the way right now. And you can see the scene here off of Irwin Road. Now, what we do know from a neighbor who lives on the street near Fenwick Drive is it is still active. In fact, she just told me she had to walk several blocks over to get her son, who could not get into the subdivision, and officers told her, hey, get to your house now. This is active. It is not safe to be outside. Obviously, we know this suspect is holed up in this home. This suspect is armed. It's unclear with what type of weapons, but obviously the weapon power enough to hit 2 deputies who were armed and wearing vests, most likely, and to ultimately kill them while serving a warrant here on Fenwick Drive. This area is on lockdown. We do know that a Georgia State Patrol helicopter is in the air monitoring the situation from the sky. And there are more, I would say, than 100 law enforcement officers from around the area. When we asked who all was out here assisting, we were told it's probably easier to tell you who isn't here. And that includes chiefs and sheriffs themselves who are out here assisting the Cobb County Sheriff in a night that will forever change this department and this community. It is heartbreaking to see these men and women out here who have lost a colleague and are continuing on to do their job to bring this to an end. It's methodical. We know there are multiple SWAT teams, at least 3 SWAT vehicles here on scene, trying to negotiate with this suspect. This neighbor tells me they've been on the PA many times trying to talk this man out of the home. Obviously, we do have a name, but we are not releasing that on the air. But again, I'm just checking in right now. It's real time. This is the benefit of having social media. This person tells me it is still ongoing. She says they are still trying to talk this suspect out because, again, this person has nothing to lose, obviously, tonight, because for some reason, this person, instead of just walking out, being put in cuffs, going to do the time, this person decided to pull out a weapon and open fire and kill 2 community heroes tonight in Marietta.
All right, Cody Alcorn reporting for us live. Thank you, Cody. And we know that this is such a difficult situation for that community and absolutely terrifying for people who live in that neighborhood.
And I just can't imagine. Our Hope Ford has been, actually, she's at the jail right now. This is what we're learning to learn more about what has taken place. Hope?
Yeah, we just left the scene a few minutes ago because we found out that Sheriff Owens will be giving a press conference at some point in time here at the jail. So we're over here right now just kind of waiting for him to come out and be able to talk to us and tell us a little bit more about what's happening. But I've been talking to some neighbors in that community. I've also been talking to people who say they have loved ones in that community. One person that I talked to said his daughter and his grandson are on lockdown right now. I asked them if maybe they wanted to give me a call and talk to me. They said they were way too scared to get off of a FaceTime with their mom right now. So there's a lot of people who are scared out in that community right now and who are waiting for all of this to end. Another person that I spoke with says that he is in a house right now that's about 500 yards away from where this is all taking place right now. He said he heard rapid fire earlier tonight, and let's listen to what's happening for them right now.
It was all kind of a blur. I know people say that a lot when they're in a kind of a scary situation like that. But now we've got fire trucks outside. We've got police cars, obviously, and then we've got ambulances, and everything's just kind of on a hold right now.
Yeah, so they're on hold right now. But let me tell you what he said kind of started all this. And when I first talked to him, he was so rattled and shaken by everything. He could barely get a sentence out. But when he was able to tell me what happened for him, he said he was going up the stairs from his basement to the kitchen, and he heard what sounded originally like fireworks. And it wasn't until those law enforcement cars started to show up that he realized those were not fireworks, that he saw that those were actually gunshots. And he says that everyone has been posting on the Hampton Glen social media pages to stay in their houses, lock the doors, turn off the lights, and which they have done right now. He says that it's a very peaceful neighborhood. They never really have a lot of crime in that neighborhood, so that is another layer that's really shaken and rattled everyone in that neighborhood right now. And as we were leaving to come here to the jail, you could tell not only the neighbors that they're going through their emotions, but a lot of those law enforcement officers who are out there right now are also dealing with a lot of emotion right now. Of course, a lot of them are trying to stay focused so that they can assist the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, but you can just tell walking by them, some of them had their heads down. You could tell that there's just a lot of heaviness on them right now. So, of course, we're going to wait out here for Sheriff Owens whenever he does come out to talk to us, to give us those additional details. And, of course, we will come back and bring that to you on air. Ron and Jennifer?
A lot of moving pieces here, Hope. Thanks a lot. By the way, we're going to continue checking in during the remainder of this broadcast to try to get some more details, especially when they have that press conference there, Hope. And Hope and Cody is going to let us know if there are any updates.
Meanwhile, tonight, condolences are pouring in right now for those fallen deputies and the agency. From the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to the city of South Fulton and Paulding County, along with countless others in this community and beyond the state of Georgia. Again, we will continue to update you on this story throughout the evening.
And Jennifer, we have some more breaking news right now coming into the newsroom. This is out of the Mechanicsville neighborhood in Atlanta. This is what we know. Police are looking into a situation in which at least 2 people were shot at Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard and Pryor Street. So that's right outside of a sports bar at that particular intersection. And we have a crew headed to the scene. And of course, we're going to bring you more details as soon as we get them. By the way, make sure you download the 11 Alive app and you can get all of the breaking news updates delivered directly to your phone. Just point your phone's camera at the screen right now, and it's going to take you to the app store to download it.
Well, right now, as flood-ravaged northwest Georgia is still working to clean things up, more rain is heading their way. Let's check in now with our chief meteorologist, Chris Holcomb. Hey, Chris.
Plenty of moisture around in this air mass right now, and any of us need to be prepared for scattered showers and maybe even some with heavy rain as we go through the next couple of days. Not much happening here right now. We've had a few showers over parts of North Georgia. Those have been dissipating. We also have a few showers here that are just crossing over the line into Alabama. Some of those were moving right along I-20 here from Carroll County, the southern parts of Haralson County, now over into parts of Cleburne County. That's weakening as it moves through. We have dry conditions here, dry conditions right now in Cobb County where that standoff is taking place. Now, during the overnight hours tonight, we will remain dry, but then by morning, a few showers will be possible. I don't think they're going to be really widespread early in the morning, but just know as you're driving into work, there is that potential for a few of those showers to be developed developing, and the rain chances will be going up a little bit more as we head into the afternoon hour. So on the wazometer tomorrow, we're going to go with a 5. We start off at 69 in the afternoon thanks to the additional clouds, and with those higher rain chances, our temperatures are going to be cooler with highs only around 77 degrees. That's going to be well below the average for this time of year. Stay with us. We're going to walk you through the timeline of these showers for the weekend, and we finally will see some breaks coming in for next week. We'll have that in the 7-day outlook.
All right, Chris, we'll see you in a couple of minutes. Here's another live look from that scene in Cobb County. 2 deputies killed in the line of duty. As you can see, they're still trying to negotiate with a suspect, and hopefully it has a peaceful resolution. We'll be right back with more details.
Place where you can verify versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m., where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this
is
morning.
where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Live News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay.
To stay on top of that breaking news out of Cobb County, 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant.
Our Cody Alcorn is joining us live from that scene right now. Cody.
Hey, Jennifer and Ron, still a very active scene right now. A standoff in its 3rd hour, about to enter the 4th hour with a suspect who shot and killed 2 Cobb County deputies tonight while they were trying to serve a warrant. I'm being told right now by people in the neighborhood the windows of this home have been broken out, and just in the last few minutes they have thrown gas into this house to try and gas this guy out, to make him give up and come out peacefully. That's where we're at right now. But I will tell you, the impact of this community, it's hit them hard. A lot of people know these 2 young deputies here, and a lot of people are heartbroken. They're furious at the same time because they said this is senseless. It didn't have to happen. These deputies were out here doing their job, serving a warrant. This man should have came out, given up, served his time, and came home another day. But unfortunately now, his actions have caused 2 deputies now not to be able to go home to their families, and parents, sisters, kids have lost their family members in a senseless tragedy. Earlier tonight, we saw them escort the body of one of those deputies who died here on the scene from this crime scene. Take a look. heartbreaking to see that, even harder to be out here to watch that procession and see the faces of these men and women watching their colleague go by them in the back of an ambulance, knowing the next time they see that deputy will be at that deputy's funeral in the coming days and weeks. Not only is this impacting the law enforcement family, but there were a lot of people around this neighborhood. We're talking about the Hampton Glen neighborhood. It's Fenwick Drive is where this happened. Right now joining me, a landscaper who worked on the property where this standoff is going on. Javier, thanks so much. Again, we do not want to name anybody involved in this because it's active, it's ongoing. We have not got any information from police, but you were in the neighborhood, actually landscaping another home, but you know the people who live here. Can you talk a little bit about them without naming them?
Yeah, they seem like really nice people. The mom, as I stated earlier, they always come out, they greet me, they give me, beverages, cold beverages, but again, you don't see these people, doing these type of things. You don't imagine this coming on this night.
And you said she had two kids that lived with her, pretty grown kids.
No, not kids. They're grown. It's just them two. Again, I won't state any names. The lady was really, really nice. Her son was really nice. I can't imagine these type of things going on, especially in this area. It's so calm. You just sit here. You're sitting at home watching the news when this is going on right in your backyard.
And you were actually in the neighborhood working on another yard. So walk us through how you found out something was even happening.
So girlfriend called me. She's told me that, let's go get dinner, and then I want to go get dinner, but I was finishing off right in front of the neighborhood. It was a weekly service house. I got there, cut the house, left. Once I left this area, I see a bunch of cops sprinting out. I did not think anything of it. I thought this was gonna go further out. I didn't think this was gonna be right behind me.
Well, we're glad you're safe tonight. Thank you so much for talking to us, and be careful out there.
Bye.
And again, that was the landscaper of this property where the standoff is ongoing. Of course, we've gotten a name, but we're not going to release that at this point. We do know it's a man. What I do want to point out, Ron and Jennifer, during that interview, I'm not for sure if you saw that trailer pull in behind us, but a tactical trailer just came in. It had what looks like a front scoop loader. So it's one of the smaller type equipment, like a front loader. It looks like they have brought in more tactical equipment to get this person out, as in they might be trying to knock even down a wall, a garage door. But that was just brought in on a huge trailer behind me and went down Irvin Road. So again, Irwin Road is where this is happening, but it looks like they're bringing in more tactical gear to try and get this suspect out. As I mentioned, neighbors said they have broken out the windows. They've tried to gas this person out, but this is a big home, and we do want to touch on that. It's a two-story home. It's quite large, a lot of square footage. So again, deputies being methodical here, 3 SWAT teams trying to get this standoff to come to an end peacefully.
All right, Cody Alcor reporting for us live. We appreciate that interview and all of those updates as we continue to follow this story. We do have team coverage this evening, and Hope Ford has been speaking with witnesses all night.
Yeah, that's right. So Hope, obviously very concerning situation for all those folks who live nearby. What did you hear when you were speaking with them?
Well, just really quickly, I just want to kind of set the scene because obviously I've changed locations from where you may have seen me a few minutes ago. We're now inside. We are waiting for Sheriff Owens at the Cobb County Jail to come out and give a press conference. If you see me looking over to the side every once in a while, kind of waiting for him to come in. We don't know when that's going to take place, but we are waiting to hear from him in just a little bit. But several of the neighbors that I talked to in the neighborhood said really the same 3 words over and over. They said that they were scared, they were frazzled, and of course they're heartbroken for these deputies and their families tonight. Let's take a listen to one neighbor that I talked to and listen to how this all began for him.
When I was going up the stairs of our basement into our kitchen, I heard, it sounds like fireworks. And then I saw about 3 or 4 cop cars come, and then I just heard more of them coming. And then there was probably, I would say, at least a dozen cop cars just on the street, on the main street of our neighborhood.
Yeah, and he says that his house is about 500 yards away from where this is all taking place right now. And he said originally, as you heard, thought that those were fireworks, and we saw those law enforcement officials start to show up. That's when he realized that those were gunshots. He said it did sound like rapid fire. He says it was kind of a blur. Everyone began posting on that Hampton Glen social media pages for everyone to stay in their houses, lock their doors, turn off their lights, call it a very peaceful community without a whole lot of crime. So that is an extra layer of that nervousness here tonight. But again, we're inside the Cobb County Jail. We're just waiting for Sheriff Owens to come out and give some additional details. And of course, as soon as we have that, we'll bring it to you on air and online.
Okay, Hope, thanks a lot. We're going to try to break in as quickly as we can as soon as he steps to the podium. Thanks a lot. By the way, Hope brought this up. Make sure, folks, you download that 11 Alive app. You can get all of those breaking news updates delivered directly to your phone.
And we're going to tell you what's happening weather-wise right now. I want to let you know we are on standby. As Ron said, if they start that press conference, we'll go straight to it, even if it's in the middle of this weathercast here, to give you more information on what's happening there. Right now, though, you can see that we do not have any rain in our area. We have a few clouds around, quiet conditions. We had a few showers up in North Georgia a little bit earlier. Those were moving over toward the west, and they've pretty much fallen apart right now. And then as you go over into West Georgia, we've also been watching a few showers here. These were right along I-20 from Douglas County through parts of Carroll County, southern parts of Haralson County. Now that's crossed over into Alabama, into Cleveland County. It had some moderate rain with it, but that's weakening as it pushes into Alabama. We're dry here now, and I'm really thinking that while you're sleeping tonight, it will remain dry. But then during the day tomorrow, really at any time tomorrow, even in the morning, we could see a few scattered showers. So we're just going to go with a 5 on the wazometer. That's our scale from 1 to 11, where an 11 is a perfect day. Starting off at 69 in the morning, getting up to 77 in the afternoon. Rain chance tomorrow is at about 60%. Now, I want you to watch the forecast track here to see that it's not going to be raining all day tomorrow. We just have this really moist air mass here, plenty of moisture within the atmosphere, and at any time it could trigger some showers. In the morning, maybe a couple of lighter showers on the south side. Some breaks at lunchtime, and then during the afternoon tomorrow, even though this model's not showing a lot of rain, we will see a few of those scattered showers with us. Some of those even Friday night for some Friday night high school football games. In the morning on Saturday, a couple of scattered showers, more of those over North Georgia, and then during the day, again, off and on showers, some of those into the afternoon hours as well. With these rain chances with us and the cloud cover, it's going to keep our temperatures down into the 70s. So we're going to be watching the areas that can have the heaviest rainfall amounts. This is what we're seeing so far as the models are concerned between now and Saturday afternoon. The blue color over most of our area indicating rainfall amounts between a ½ inch and an inch and a half. The purple here from Atlanta south and also over to the east of us, that's where we can see an 1.5 to 2.5 inches. And then through late Monday, that purple color grows a little bit where more of us could see that 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain throughout that period there. Something else we're watching, Hurricane Earl right now is near Bermuda. There's the island of Bermuda right here. The center of the storm is going to stay just to the east of Bermuda, but they are having some tropical storm force winds. It moves up, potentially becoming a Category 3 storm, but it is going to stay away from the Atlantic coastline of the United States. So we're going to hold on to that tropical air mass over the next few days with scattered showers and some thunder showers. Thunder a little less likely there. 60% chance for that with highs in the 70s. 50% chance on Sunday. 40% chance Monday. Here's the payoff. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Drier air comes in. Look at those lows. Wednesday and Thursday morning, lows in the low 60s, highs in the mid 80s with mostly sunny skies. Those will be 10s on the wazometer.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Meanwhile, we are still following that breaking news out of Cobb County. 2 Cobb County Sheriff deputies killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant. A suspect involved in a standoff right now. We're checking in with our breaking news crews as we continue to wait for more information from the sheriff.
Ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality. sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this
is
morning.
where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Live News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing
we
in.
could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming.
We can breaking news for you this evening.
Yeah, that's right. So this is a live picture right now in Marietta, where police are still trying to negotiate with a suspect after two deputies were shot and killed. The standoff continues, and now the SWAT team is trying to bring that suspect out. We're going to stay on top of this. We'll be right back right after this.
Live is on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Live News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing
we
in.
could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead.
This severe weather is intensifying
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert,
we've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to
and the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
Before we get out of here, let's recap that breaking news of the evening. 2 sheriff's deputies killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant, and now an armed standoff is taking place in Cobb County. This is in the Hampton Glen area of Marietta near the McNeil Farms neighborhood, and at least 3 SWAT teams are now on the scene, in addition to many other law enforcement agencies, including police from Fulton County as well as the Georgia State Patrol.
There is no word right now on the identity of the fallen deputies. Make sure you stay with 11 Alive for the very latest on this story. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is up next, but we do want to let you know that we will break into programming both on air and on 11 Alive Plus with the newest information. We are still waiting on a news conference from the Cobb County Sheriff, so we will break in to get you those updates as soon as they come. We will also have the very latest for you tomorrow morning on 11 Alive Morning News. That's starting at 4:30 a.m. And of course, you can always find the latest information on 11alive.com and inside our 11 Alive News app. We thank you so much for being with us, and we'll of course continue to follow this and bring you those latest updates again right here as soon as they come in. We will break in on air, and we'll also get you that information on 11 Alive Plus. Have a great evening.
Good evening.
11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to
and the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
how you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead.
This severe weather is intensifying
by knowing what's coming overhead. And we're Atlanta's traffic expert.
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a
ATL, also 11 Alive Plus. This is what we're learning just coming into the newsroom. 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies were being told by the Cobb County Sheriff's Office 2 deputies have been killed in the line of duty. I believe that we have some pictures of the crime scene where it's taking place, where there's extreme heavy activity right now.
We understand they were in the process of serving warrants, and we are going to get live to our reporter, Cody Alcorn, who is out there on the scene. Cody, what can you tell us about what you're learning so far about this?
Ron, Jennifer, heartbreaking news here developing in Cobb County, where you just mentioned the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming 2 deputies have died tonight in the line of duty. We do know they were serving a warrant at a home on Hampton Glen in that subdivision here off of John Ward Road when something went south and this suspect opened fire. Again, we do know 2 deputies have been killed. A witness said one of those deputies was being worked on in front of her home. He was right.
I would say good evening. I guess it's going into early morning. It is a sad night this evening for the citizens of Cobb County, as well as the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, and for law enforcement in whole. Even more so is a night of heartache for 2 families from the Cobb Sheriff's Office. 2 wives who has lost amazing husbands. I am saddened to report this evening that the Cobb County Sheriff's Office has lost 2 young, bright deputies. They were killed in the line of duty this evening while serving a warrant. These 2 deputies serve Cobb County with dignity and honor. Please pause with me for a second as we recognize these two lost deputies. Thank you. Next, let me thank the many law enforcement agencies who responded to our needs this evening. And they've been by our side this whole evening, trying to help us get through this ordeal. And as I read these agencies in no particular order, but again, thank them all for their help this evening. The Cobb County Police Department, the City of Marietta Police Department, the City of Kennesaw Police Department, Austell Police Department, Powder Springs Police Department, the Cobb County School Board Police, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Paulding County Sheriff's Office, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and the Georgia State Patrol, and many others that was on the scene this evening. And behind me this evening, I do have the great pleasure to say I have some Metro Atlanta sheriffs with me this evening. And I want to acknowledge them and thank you for coming out for us this evening. We have Sheriff Melanie Maddox from DeKalb County. We have Sheriff Ron Freeman from Forsyth County. We have Sheriff Gary Gullidge from Paulding County here as well. And we do also have the new director of GBI here, Mr. Michael Register, here this evening as well as my chief deputy, Rhonda Anderson. The Cobb County Police Department, ladies and gentlemen, will be investigating this horrific incident. What I can tell you at this moment is this, and in plain terms, it's very simple. My two deputies were ambushed this evening and killed. The two suspects now that we believe are the perpetrators of this crime are currently in custody and being held at Cobb County Police Department now for questioning. At this time, that's all I can pretty much tell you about the incident, but I will try to answer some questions if you have them at this time.
What were the warrants being served for?
Failure to appears.
For just one warrant?
Yes. Well, it's failure to appear for theft by deception.
And was the person being served the warrant a suspect in the shooting?
Was the person being served one? Mm-hmm. It's two suspects. I'm not exactly sure if that was a particular one who was actually the warrant being served on.
The names of the deputies
We're not releasing those currently until the whole family's been notified. The family has asked us to hold off on releasing that because they want to make complete notification to their entire family.
And the suspect names?
That hasn't been released yet as well. The Cobb County Police Department will be handling that portion of the investigation.
You said the deputies were young. Were they relatively new to your department? Had they been there for a while?
Well, everybody's younger than me because of my age. Let me clarify. That's why I made that statement. But they've both been here substantially over 5 years.
Hey, Sheriff, can you talk a little bit more about the apprehension of the two suspects? I know it was a lone standoff. What was that like, getting them into custody tonight?
Well, from my understanding, it was a lone standoff with those, but they came out peacefully, those two that was in custody. Nothing that I was been told up to this point led me to believe there was any infractions or altercation with them during that arresting period.
Okay. Did they finally give in peacefully to law enforcement officers?
Yes.
Sheriff, what time did this occur?
I don't have the exact time frame to give you right now. I'm sorry.
Can you provide any details about the description of the shooting in terms of, did they just knock on the door and they were ambushed immediately, or?
Well, from what I can tell you at this point is they was ambushed as they got out of the cars and they was talking with the suspect, and that's when shots were fired.
Sheriff, can we talk a little bit, looking around the room, a big show of support, but you can just kind of feel the heavy hearts. What is going through your mind, and what do you tell the other officers and deputies under you tonight?
That's a good question. You know, what words can you say when you lose your family member? And those words don't come easy, but just speaking straight from the heart, I would just say, just pray for us because we need it. Our hearts are broken here in Cobb County. Our hearts are definitely broken. And it's going to take some prayers to help us get back to where we need to be. And because of the people you see behind me today, I think we'll be able to overcome that, but it's not going to be an easy road. So we have a lot of support, as you can see, on the scene this evening with the several agencies that responded, as well as fellow sheriffs behind me as well. Chief of Police was on the scene as well. So we had a tremendous amount of law enforcement support there. The governor even called this evening immediately and asked, what can I do to help you and provide state resources? So we was receiving I like to say help calls from all over the state asking what can they do to help us during this time. So again, it is a very difficult time for us. And I think when one agency loses someone, we all lose someone. And I think every sheriff and every director and their chief can attest to that. When this tragedy hurts our community, it hurts their community as well.
Sheriff, these two suspects, are they adults or juveniles?
Be honest with you, I don't have the information. I just know they're in custody now, currently being interviewed by Cobb County Police. I'm not sure the ages of the two suspects.
And did they reside at that address?
That I don't know as well. We're still doing an investigation to determine, but based on we're going to the warrant, we assume one of them did live there at that property.
Do we know, were they related?
I don't have the information currently.
Are these your first line of duty deaths since you've been sheriff? And how long has it been since the Cobb County Sheriff's Office had a deputy killed in line of duty?
This is my first line of duty death since I've been in office, a little over 18 months. And we haven't had one from a shooting incident. Never had a car accident.
Was it your agency that was involved? Was it the Cobb County Sheriff's Department that was able to negotiate them coming out? Or was it one of the other agencies?
It was my cooperation with the Cobb County Police Department. So they was doing, since they was a lead agency on the investigation and that portion of the incident.
During the standoff, was there anyone else in the house, like any hostages or anything, or is it just those two suspects?
Not to my knowledge, no, ma'am.
Take a couple more questions.
Do you have an exact address?
Ma'am?
Go ahead, it's a quick question.
It's just the address of the home that they were barricaded in.
I don't have it right in front of me. I do have it, but yes, we do have the address where that incident occurred, yes.
Just a quick clarification on the ambush. Were they out getting ready to enter or serve the warrant, or had they already engaged with some suspects and then they were ambushed?
From my understanding, the deputies have made attempt at the home, knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. No one came to the house. As they were going back to the car, a vehicle drove up, which they assumed was a suspect who lived there. And as they got back out of the car, as he got in his car, shots were fired.
So this was someone who wasn't even inside the home? They drove
one of the suspects, yes.
One of the suspects were in a separate vehicle.
Was it just one person who fired the shot?
I'm not sure. I can't answer that completely right now. It's still an investigation.
Do you know if the deputies returned fire at all?
I can't answer that neither at the point.
Last question.
Were they able to call for help?
Yes. They put out a help call, Signal 63, and that's why we had so many agencies, officers respond to the location. Again, thank y'all for coming out this evening. I know it's late in the morning, but this information needs to be put out. We're working with the families, trying to comfort them during this time frame, as well as comfort my officers and deputies that help out this evening. Again, it is a trying time for us here at Cobb County Sheriff's Office. Please pray for our agency and all deputies and officers across the United States. We need to do something, ladies and gentlemen, about this guns on the street. So whatever we can do to prevent gun violence, as you can see, is affecting us here in Cobb, is affecting everyone across the United States of America. We definitely need to do something regarding that. So thank you for coming out this morning, and we'll have more information as we receive it to report to you at a later date. Thank you.
And if you are just joining us tonight on 11 Alive, we are continuing to follow that breaking news out of Cobb County. 2 sheriff's deputies killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant. We are just getting some brand new information from the sheriff of Cobb County. So we want to walk you through some of the information that we are just getting. And the sheriff describing these 2 deputies as young, bright deputies, saying they had been with the department for 5 years plus, serving with dignity and honor. He did begin with a moment of silence there as well, and listed off some of the agencies that have been supporting them. You saw some of those law enforcement figureheads behind them. There were sheriff's deputies, there were sheriffs and police chiefs that had traveled to Cobb County to support. But getting back to those deputies, what we're told tonight from the sheriff is that those deputies were serving that warrant. They said that the warrant was for a failure to appear for a theft by deception. And when they were attempting to serve that warrant, it sounds like the sheriff is saying that they went to the house, rang the doorbell, there was no answer, and they were heading back to the car when another vehicle came up, and that is when those deputies were shot. And he described it as an ambush.
Yeah, it was an ambush. And you know what was really striking here before we get to Cody Alcorn, he's out there at the scene, is that it was a failure to appear. theft by deception. It doesn't sound like it was a felony, doesn't sound like it was anything that's serious. And to take the life of two young officers, he says those two officers have been on the agency with the department or with the office for more than 5 years. And the two of them, they lost two wives. They both have two wives, and those two wives have lost their two husbands.
And we want to talk about a little bit the suspects, because they are saying that they are now in custody. They are being questioned by the Cobb County Police Department. The sheriff couldn't say if they lived in that particular home where where that warrant was being served, or if the two people are related. That information will come out later. But again, they are not releasing the names of the deputies who were killed tonight. They say they are working to notify the full family, and they're also not releasing the name of the suspects at this point. But the sheriff's saying that their hearts are broken, in Cobb County, and that they need prayers. Also saying that they received a call from Governor Kemp offering help as well.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get to Cody Alcorn. He's live out there at the scene. And Cody, you have been out there since around 8 o'clock right now. What are you seeing? We're looking at some of the video. We can see the law enforcement. They're really heavy-hearted right now. What are you learning tonight?
What we do know is that this was senseless. What we just learned from the sheriff, all of this started over a failure to appear warrant. People are furious tonight in this community that these two suspects took it upon themselves to ambush these two deputies. And now, as you mentioned, two wives tonight will become widows. And this department has lost two deputies. You heard the sheriff saying it's his first in 18 months since taking office, and really the first officer shot here in the county. They've had others killed in car crashes. It's heartbreaking. What I'm being told from neighbors is that they broke out all of these windows. They brought in a Bearcat. What I'm being told, we have not been able to confirm this, but neighbors tell me that when the mother got out, she was not helping law enforcement with the layout of this large home. That's why they had to bring in so much reinforcement, because they had nothing to work with. They knew these two suspects already ambushed two of their deputies. They knew they'd likely try to do it again, so they weren't taking any chances. And you heard the sheriff just mention they had resources from all over the state of Georgia. Fortunately, tonight, those two suspects taken into custody without any more loss of life, being questioned right now. But I think it all goes back to what the sheriff said. This was over a failure to appear. These individuals, apparently it was one warrant, so it was only for one of these suspects, would have went to jail tonight, served a little time, and gotten out probably by tomorrow on this warrant. Now they're looking at spending the rest of their lives behind bars, or maybe in the death penalty if the DA goes after that in the coming days and weeks. We also talked to the landscaper of this home, who confirmed to us that it was a mother and two grown kids who lived at this home. So it matches what we are hearing as far as these two suspects. It appears they're brothers. I know the sheriff didn't confirm that, but that's coming from the landscaper, who says he's interacted with these two individuals. He said they're nice. They brought him water. They've talked to him. No indication they would become these type of individuals that the sheriff described, who took the lives of his two deputies here. It's heartbreaking for this entire agency. You heard the sheriff mention the governor on the phone with him tonight, law enforcement across the state reaching out as well. And now two women will have to bury their husbands in the coming days. It's just unfathomable here tonight. They woke up just like any other day. These deputies came to do their job, and they were simply serving a warrant. And you saw what the sheriff said. This is what we talked about earlier, Ron and Jennifer, just describing from neighbors. We thought it might have been an ambush because these deputies go through training. They don't just walk up on scenes unprepared. And tonight, all that training, all that preparedness was no match for what they met here on this street, Fenwick Drive, in the Hampton Glen community. So I will tell you, our hearts are with this family, with these deputies. Prayers are with them. It's going to be a long process to recover from this. Sometimes you see agencies lose one, but tonight this agency lost two deputies in a matter of seconds here in Marietta.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, our thoughts and prayers are with those two wives, with their family members, and those that they're probably reaching out across the country to let them know what happened for those two young officers who lost their lives. Such a tragic, horrible situation. Thanks a lot. We appreciate that, Cody. Also, thank you as well. Hope Ford out there at the scene, too.
And we'll, of course, continue to follow this breaking news story as the days and weeks come ahead and we learn new information. The sheriff saying that they do want to work this and wait and be respectful of the family during this process. So we will, of course, get more details from them in the next few days and hours as well. But we want to thank you so much for being with us for 11 Alive. We will continue to keep you updated on 11alive.com and inside our 11 Alive news app. We'll also have the very latest for you this morning on the 11 Alive Morning News starting at 4:30.
Good night, everyone. Be safe.
News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
And bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
how you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
Heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead.
This severe weather is intensifying
by knowing what's coming overhead. And we're Atlanta's traffic expert.
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Live News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to